Welcome to the fantasy audiobook. Marvel. Grabbed a drawer of infinity stones at the beginning. Chapter 81. Nick Fury asked hundreds of super agents with live ammunition to escort the frozen Steve away, with agents running around to clear the way. This is very consistent with his character. He will be careful in everything and strive to make no mistakes. This time with the superhero Steve waiting to be unfrozen, he has to be even more careful. Little did he know that all of this was done intentionally by Alexander Pierce to make it so smooth for him. If it weren't for his order, these agents would have sold Steve halfway. S.H.I.E.L.D. is S.H.I.E.L.D., and it has long been infiltrated into a sieve. Although it appears to be extremely powerful, it is actually the largest base of Hydra. Nick Fury, who is kept in the dark, is still complacent, thinking how much S.H.I.E.L.D. represents justice. Alexander Pierce, who is far away, is naturally a behind-the-scenes boss like an old fox. Since Nick Fury is disobedient, let's assassinate him. It's just that the timing wasn't right. He had a better candidate and needed to use Nick Fury. Pierce needs this disobedient fool to recruit Captain America Steve into S.H.I.E.L.D. and subtly allow Steve to fully integrate into S.H.I.E.L.D. At that time, Nick Fury was directly kicked out, and naturally he picked up a national idol superhero Steve for nothing. He believes that Nick Fury really has this ability, and he also believes that Steve cannot take orders from anyone. Steve will only be loyal to this country and its people. By then Steve is loyal to the country, so doesn't his control of this organization mean he controls Steve? Pierce's calculations are ringing. We didn't dare to walk on the main road late at night, it was too chaotic, and even a few hundred of them couldn't stop the surging crowd. So they all ran around in the alleys, which exhausted the agents. They were so angry that they hated these fools. Nick Fury, who was sitting in the car, was grinning from ear to ear. He had already imagined that he had Steve, the most powerful idol in the United States, to cheer up. So what team couldn't build up? Ha ha ha, it's worth exchanging an unusable Rubik's Cube for a super mascot Steve. The more Nick Fury thought about it, the more valuable it became. He knew that the Cosmic Cube was quite valuable, but he still chose to exchange it. He is an extremely realistic person. 1,000 birds in the forest is not as practical as a bird in the hand. On the other side, Chen-Chi played with the Rubik's Cube in his hand, watching Nick Fury who couldn't wait to run back and fell into deep thought. Nick Fury, I'm here to help you. Chen-Chi murmured to himself. The Cosmic Cube, also known as the Space Gem, is a divine object that mortals like them can control. It represents the strongest space law in the universe and an infinite source of energy. There are too many people who covet it. The little Earth cannot withstand such a torment. A common man is not guilty, but he is guilty of possessing a treasure. A child is running all over the street holding gold. Isn't that equivalent to giving it away? The Earth is the child, and the Rubik's Cube is the gold. They can't stand such a cosmic artifact, and countless people come knocking on their door. But now, if it's in your hands, others will give up. If it's in his mouth, it's impossible to spit it out. Chen-Chi looked at the Rubik's Cube that stole the show in the movie, and his eyes seemed to be deeply attracted by it. The deep blue Rubik's Cube of the universe was displayed before his eyes like a miniature universe, with billions and billions of stars inside. The universe is full of stars, emitting a faint light, like pearls, like handfuls of broken gold, scattered on the jasper plate. The cosmic Rubik's Cube in the movie was just made by a man, but he actually existed, and what he held was a universe. For a long time, Chen-Chi took a deep breath before waking up from the shock brought by the cosmic cube. Call, beautiful, shocking, all-encompassing, and dotted with stars. He used several adjectives in succession, but they were not enough to describe the sea of stars he saw. System, what should I do? Crush the cube. This is such a waste. Appreciation is appreciation, he still has extremely important things to do next. Just crushing the Rubik's Cube of the universe and sending out all the heavenly things. The more important question is how to attract Loki from this universe. Loki will definitely come with the Mind Stone. If he doesn't come, he doesn't want to go all over the universe to find Thanos running around. The Cosmic Cube is part of his plan and cannot be missed. Host, it is not a waste, but it must be crushed, unless you can teleport magic to teleport the space gem out. The system's words made Chen's eyes balls ache, and they had to be crushed. He doesn't know how to transmit magic. Once he fuses the space gem, no matter what kind of space magic you have, it will be rubbish. At this time, the system spoke again. Host, don't worry. The cosmic Rubik's Cube is just the crystallization of the energy leaked from the space gem, so it's naturally not precious. After fusion, it can be repaired with just some energy. Isn't it easy with the power of the super space gem? The system's words made Chen Zai's eyes light up. Yes, the cosmic Rubik's Cube is just the crystallization of the energy leaked from the space gem, and it can be done at any time. Just do it. With a click, Chen Shi crushed the cosmic Rubik's Cube, the fragments scattered all over the floor, and a deeper blue ellipsoidal space gem also appeared in front of his eyes. The space gem is quite quiet. As long as there is no energy input, it is not aggressive and just lies quietly. System, what should I do now? Naturally, he didn't know how to do it and could only rely on the system's help. Host, you only need to take out those space gems, and they will automatically attract and fuse with each other. They are all space gems. They have the same origin and origin. They naturally want to become more powerful. This is an instinct. Chen Shi complied, but he still teleported to the depths of the desert. Who knows if the energy would leak out during the fusion, or his home would be blown up by then. When everything was ready, Chen Shi took out 7 space gems of the same deep blue color from the system space. And when he took out these 7 space gems, as if pulled by some force, the 8 spaces actually began to rotate at a speed invisible to the naked eye. Chen Shi felt it. This was them cheering, and he felt their instinctive joy. Compatriots, compatriots. They finally met their compatriots in different universes. They were so lonely. They had been lonely for 13.8 billion years. This joy can be imagined. Suddenly, the space gem that was originally rotating in a circle suddenly stopped and became motionless. Buzz, buzz. A violent vibration came, they were resonating, and it seemed that they had reached a unanimous decision. The 8 space gems began to bloom with deep blue light, and all the light began to gather among them. With the gathering of endless divine light, an erratic and almost transparent larger ellipse was born. Then the space gems tried their best to release their energy and use up all their energy. Boom! Like the final sound, the 8 space gems exploded. The endless powder seemed to have found its destination, and it all rushed towards Chen Zai's eyebrows at the same time. As if the heaven and earth were first opened, after the infinitely dense singularity exploded, the universe was born. Then, Chen Shi saw their origins and all their experiences. Loneliness, loneliness, only endless loneliness. Great human being, thank you for granting us hope. Please treat us kindly and make use of our hope. No. Don't let our pearl be covered in dust. After the fusion of the 8 space gems, the will was born at the moment of ultimate sublimation, which also became their last breath. All things can give birth to will, but for Chen Shi, it is too difficult for the laws of the universe to give birth to will. The multiverse does not allow them to give birth to will. This is the rule set by the OAA. They are too powerful. If they had a will, it would be really terrible. Who knows whether they are evil or just? I didn't expect that you broke through the shackles at the last moment and gave birth to your final will. Chen Shi slowly opened his eyes, a tear streaking across the corner of his eyes. He felt the endless loneliness. This despair tortured them for endless time, and he felt the same way. Come on, you have to carry their will and exist forever. Chen Shi sighed and waved gently to the super space gem floating in front of him. Whoosh! The super space gem flew into Chen Zai's eyebrows like a swallow returning to its nest, and it finally settled down. Chen Zai's mental power entered the sea of consciousness and found that the super space gem was standing there quietly, slowly spitting out blue light. And he felt that from now on, he was absorbing the energy gift of the law of space all the time. Ding! Congratulations to the host for successfully integrating the first infinite gem. The host will be rewarded with 5 million points. Ding! Congratulations to the host for successfully integrating the first infinite gem, and congratulations to the host for awakening the ability to transfer space. Ding! Congratulations to the host for successfully integrating the first infinite gem, and congratulations to the host for awakening the space-cutting ability. Ding! Congratulations to the host for successfully integrating the first infinite gem, and congratulations to the host for awakening the dimensional space ability. A series of super space gems directly gave Chen Shi 3 top-level space abilities. This big gift package of 5 was a bit unexpected. I have just absorbed space energy. What if I absorb more space energy in the future? Space is king and time is supreme. An existence as powerful as the Space Stone has 5 brothers. In the Marvel world, the Infinity Stones are quenched from the essence of 6 singularities that contained infinite energy before the Big Bang. The universe was not born, but the gem already existed. What does this mean? This infinite gem is even older than the universe. The 6 infinite gems control the 6 basic attributes of space, time, reality, power, mind, and soul respectively. The 6 Infinity Stones control the 6 laws of the Marvel Universe, and this is especially true for the entire Marvel movie. Behind any major event is related to these 6 Infinity Stones. It can be said that 6 Infinity Stars run through the entire Marvel Cinematic Universe. Chen-Shi also has a bunch of infinite gems in his hand. The combined power of so many infinite gems can be imagined. The key is that these infinite gems are all blessed together, and the power produced is not as simple as 1 plus 1. Chen-Shi is particularly looking forward to whether the fusion of 6 super infinity stones will reach the level of the heart of the universe. The Infinity Gauntlet with 6 infinity stones is multiverse level, but the one with extremely low utilization rate, but he has 50 or 60 of them. He still brought them with him. Chen-Shi stood there in a daze and giggled. This guy is already dreaming of a better life. Who will step on who? After a while, Chen-Shi finally stopped imagining and wiped away the non-existent saliva. At this time, Chen-Shi suddenly took out the super space gem, held it in his hand and stared at it for a long time, and finally made up his mind. It's finally time for you to use your strength. Gather a cosmic Rubik's Cube and come out. This is your first time to use your strength. After saying that, Chen-Shi began to input energy, and according to his own ideas, let the super space gem slowly release a trace of energy into the newly shattered cosmic Rubik's Cube. Zila, Zila. The newly shattered cosmic cube slowly began to gather again under the repair of space energy. Space energy is the glue, just stick those pieces together again. After a while, the space Rubik's Cube was repaired directly. Chen-Shi picked up the cosmic Rubik's Cube and looked at it carefully. There was no difference at all, just the same. Hey, Loki, Loki, come here quickly, I have prepared a big gift for you. Chen-Shi couldn't help but jokingly said that as long as Loki knew about this thing, he would tell Thanos through Loki's mouth. Didn't Thanos, who was searching for the cosmic cube, take the bait? Then the Mind Stone came. After thinking happily, I felt happy again. System, open the Properties panel. Ding, the Properties panel has been opened, the host can check it by himself. Host, Chen-Shi. Age, 22. Level, Sub-Heavenly Father level. Physique, Frost Giant Physique. Ability, Water Control Level A, 10 km range. Ice Type S level, -150 degrees Celsius. Fire Control Level B, 1000 degrees. Carbon Temperature Transformation, second to Original Edmon and Vibranium. Super Speed S Class, 2000 km per second. Super Self-Healing S level, any damage is healed within 1 second. Telepathy Level A. Magnetic Control Level A. Space Transfer S level, within the solar system. Space Cutting Grade A, ordinary 10 cm steel. Dimensional Space Level A, circumference of 100,000 square kilometers. Items: Time Stone, Super Space Stone, Reality Stone, Power Stone, Mind Stone, Soul Stone. N pieces. An Umbrella Hive Factory. Subordinates: Android No. 18, Terminator TX. Points: 11.9 million points. Bioenergy: 3,850 points. The teleportation in the panel has also become a space transfer. It is not just the teleportation of people holding hands, he can now directly teleport something, or it can also be a person, and now there is no trace of delay. No one can control his teleportation now. The super space gem makes any space law subject to its control. Although his own space ability is not that strong, he has a super space gem. Chen-Shi also saw the descriptions of the other 2 space abilities. Space Cutting is the space blade. That thing is hard to guard against and is a must-have skill for yin people. That dimensional space is equivalent to a space cage, existing like a mirror space. He can control the size and has no effect on the real world at all. This move completely prevents the enemy from escaping, and the trapped enemy is the turtle in the urn. Chen Shi was very satisfied with such a gift, and he had both offense and defense. After taking stock of his harvest, Chen Shi happily prepared to go home. He couldn't wander around at night, as it would be easy to act like a ghost. If not, he would be a ghost. Master Ji Yuyi, since you are here, why are you so sneaky? Chen Shi suddenly raised his head, looked at a certain space, and said lightly. Zila. The space shattered, and a bald woman wearing an earthy yellow monk's robe slowly walked out of the void. The person who came was none other than Master Ji Yuyi, an almost invincible supreme mage who died due to special effects in the movie. If she didn't want to die, or if she was doing it just to pave the way for the plot, who could kill her? Thanos dared to set foot on the Earth to snatch several gems. He was probably beaten to death before he even reached the solar system and fled for his life. A single universe-level boss like Damumu has been blocked from the Earth by the Ancient One Master for hundreds of years, let alone a mere purple sweet potato spirit from Sub-Heavenly Father. At this moment, Master Ji Yuyi is walking from the void with a compassionate look. The void seems to have stairs, with lotus growing every step of the way. The Ancient One, a lineage of Earth mages, has met the young Infinite One. Master Ji Yuyi put his hands together and bowed slightly. Haha, I have met Master Ji Yuyi. It was still unclear whether she was an enemy or a friend, so Chen Shi naturally would not treat her arrogantly like a pretentious criminal. It's just that I don't understand why Master Ji Yuyi calls me the Infinite One. I'm confused. At this time, Chen Shi asked again about the strange name of Ji Yuyi. I am neither a member of the Eternal Clan nor a follower of Eternity. Haha, the Infinite, only in legends, Ji Yuyi said lightly. She remembered the records in ancient books. In countless universes, there are countless parallel universes, and each universe has a different version of you. You are an ordinary person in this universe. In some universes, you may be a rich man, a general, a mutant, or an alien creature. You may have any fate and encounters. Every time you encounter different choices, a different you will be born. But, you are different. You are the Infinite. Ji Yuyi suddenly looked at Chen Shi solemnly. There are countless parallel universes, but there is only one you. What you have is an infinite future and infinite possibilities. But your appearance has already broken all the original timelines and pushed everyone's destiny to an invisible track. Everyone has their own destiny, but you changed their destiny. This is destroying the timeline. When Chen Shi heard this, she couldn't help but shrugged after talking a lot. He said nonchalantly, so what's your purpose? Tell me. He naturally knew that Ji Yuyi's arrival must have a strong purpose, otherwise she would be full. If you have nothing to do, you might as well travel around the multiverse, so why come to him? Alas, I would like to ask you not to destroy all established destiny, including the future Avengers plan. Ji Yuyi sighed and finally stated his purpose. Chen Shi burst out laughing after hearing this. Why, if I don't destroy it, then I can only wait to die. Will so many great people in Marvel let him go? Or will he have to live cautiously like a mouse in the shadow of others? No, this is not him. If he is a person who accepts his fate, then when he was weak, he would not risk his life with others in everything. He has nothing but a life. He just wanted to fight for that glimmer of hope, and he would not regret it even if he almost died. What about you? Do you also want to die? Is this your life? It's your fate to die if you want. Give up. Death. It's definitely not the end of me, Chen Shi. Chen Shi laughed crazily, mocking her greatness and selflessness, but he couldn't. He didn't live for himself alone. He can't die, let alone die. What? How did you know? Ji Yuyi exclaimed in shock, his body shaking violently. This established future is her choice. She is too tired. The candidate for the future Supreme Mage has appeared, and she can be relieved, abandon her decayed body, and follow the eternal God to practice with her free soul. But she didn't tell anyone about this choice. She used the time stone to seal her future timeline, but how did he know? It's terrifying to think about it carefully. Is this the terror of the infinite? Chen Shi shook his head gently and did not answer her. Could it be that I am not the only one who knows it, but everyone on Earth knows it? But what should I say about this? Should I tell her that you are just an NPC in a movie? You don't exist at all. You are just a character written by someone else. He is not as mean as Deadpool. He deliberately let Charles check his memory. He made Charles go crazy. This is how Marvel's meanest Deadpool let Charles know that he is just a comic character, and then even the powerful mind of Charles, the Mind Master, collapsed. Chen Shi looked at Ji Yuyi and smiled and said, "In our Dragon Kingdom, there is a magic called Joyi Bagua to play the future. Of course I can do this kind of magic. If you can see the past and future through the time stone, I can naturally do it too." "Is that so?" Ji Yuyi was slightly startled. It would be an exaggeration to say that the place where she lived was the Dragon Kingdom. She had also lived in the Dragon Kingdom since she was a child, so she naturally knew that there was such Joyi gossip. It's just that what she knew has been lost long ago, and no one knows it. She just didn't expect that the person in front of her would know it too. If it were anyone else, she would naturally not believe it, but thinking of Chen Zai's identity, she still chose to believe it. The infinite cannot be speculated by common sense. But now is not the time to discuss it, she has her own purpose. She took a deep look at Chen Shi again and said, "You really don't want to give in?" Chen Shi ignored her ultimatum and was extremely determined. "Ha ha ha, because many things are scarier than death. Do something and don't do something. Let's take action, I'll see the real chapter under my command." What a good person who does something and doesn't do anything. Ji Yuyi sighed slightly. Why are you so persistent? Isn't it the best choice to follow the general trend? Everyone has his own destiny, so there is no way to choose. If possible, I really don't want to have magic power. I would rather be immortal, walk around the bustling world, and watch the sunrise and sunset. Why don't many people believe in fate? The strongest has its own master. Every mountain is higher than the other. When you are stronger, the opponents you encounter will be stronger, and the more dangerous you will be. Ha ha ha. Chen Shi laughed loudly after hearing this. He has been targeted by the Time Variation Administration. Kong the Conqueror has not noticed him yet, or has already noticed him. If he can't become stronger, then his end is already a dead end. He doesn't want to be ruled by the final Kong, he wants to defeat Kong. Chen Shi stared at Ji Yuyi and said loudly, "You said that the more powerful you are, the more dangerous you are, right? Then I will be so powerful that everyone is afraid of me, afraid of me, afraid of me." Ji Yuyi shook his head slightly when he heard such an arrogant tone. "Young man, don't you know how to be humble and restrained? Don't be too arrogant, or you will easily fall into trouble." Chen Shi snorted disdainfully. "Aren't you still a young man if you're not angry? Ji Yuyi, you are old, your heart is no longer young, you have become compassionate, you have no fighting spirit, and you will only follow the ending given to you by others." Ji Yuyi's expression changed slightly. He was talking about himself now. She was too tired and no longer wanted to fight for anything. Everything was left to fate. No more nonsense, let's see the real deal today. I win. From now on, you cannot change your destiny. If I lose, then I will never stop you from anything you do. Okay, it's a deal, please. Chen Shi naturally agreed, gambling. It's fun. The Karma Taj mage in Marvel prefers close combat. Let's take a look at the physical magic mage. When Ji Yuyi heard this, he took a deep look at Chen Shi. This person was too calm and asked him to strike first, so it would be better to strike first. She saw her right hand making a seal, and a burst of sparks flashed. Chen Shi clearly felt that she had arrived in a dimensional space. What a great idea, mirror space. Chen Shi praised it and experienced it personally, it was indeed extraordinary. That's ridiculous. At some point, Ji Yuyi was already close, a dim yellow magic shield appeared in his hands, and hit Chen Zai's head straight. The fire surrounding shield increases the power of close combat, increases one's own defense, and attacks with fire attributes. When Chen Shi saw this, he naturally would not show any weakness and flashed about 3 meters to the right to avoid this tentative blow. Take my move, freeze arrows. With a loud shout, countless frozen arrows condensed in front of Chen Shi. Whoosh whoosh, as if thousands of arrows were fired in unison, the flying arrows flashing with a cold light rushed towards Ji Yuyi, covering the sky and the sun. Little tricks. Ji Yuyi remained motionless, looking straight at the arrows flying at extremely fast speeds. Light shield technique. Bang bang bang. In an instant, ice arrows filled the sky surrounded Ji Yuyi, but Ji Yuyi, who had used the shield, was unscathed, and the shield blocked them all. Hee, there is something. Chen Shi was not in a hurry, this round was just about testing each other. It's not really true at all. He moved again. Suddenly, Chen Shi disappeared from Ji Yuyi's sight. Ji Yuyi, who thought of something, formed seals with both hands without hesitation, condensed a Sphenan shield, and smashed it hard somewhere in the void. Boom! The two of them clashed with each other again. Under the shock, yellow sand rose up all over the desert and shot up to a height of 100 meters. This shows how fierce the collision was. The Sphenan shield condensed by Ancient One shattered suddenly and turned into golden fragments all over the sky, shattered like a mirror being shattered. She herself even stumbled back 7 to 8 meters. Fortunately, she was protected by a fire surrounding shield and was not injured. But this time Ji Yuyi was shocked. She no longer looked expressionless and calm, she pointed at Chen Shi with wide eyes and shouted. You can actually hide in the mirror space and teleport. And you actually have hundreds of tons of strength. No wonder Ji Yuyi was so shocked. It's normal to have powerful ice abilities. It's okay to be able to teleport, and it's okay to be able to escape into the void. But you actually still have hundreds of tons of strength. This cannot be cultivated, it must either mutate or be innate. But you already have so many abilities, why do you still have them? How unfair is God, favoring him alone? Chen Shi smiled proudly. Finally shocking you. You don't have to keep this calm look, right? How's it going? Isn't it weird? But didn't you say that I am the infinite? Why can't I have infinite superpowers? The universe is so big, there are always lucky people, right? Your vision is still too narrow. When you meet more people, you will find that all you insist on is that others are not interested. Hearing Chen Zai's proud face, Ji Yuyi's smooth forehead was a black line. Look at what makes you proud. Look at what makes you shout, and your voice becomes louder. This is what Chen Shi does, strategically despise the enemy, and tactically pay attention to the enemy. Upon seeing this, Ji Yuyi quickly regained her composure. Hundreds of years of experience had made her psychologically calm and calm. After a brief shock, she got serious. The idea is a bit tricky. There was no way she could try it out with Chen Shi several times, but she didn't get any benefit and was instead at a disadvantage. She didn't pay attention to Chen Zai's words. She couldn't calculate the future of those top mutants, such as Franklin Richards, Phoenix Girl Chin Gray, the Psycho Group, and Scarlet Witch Wanda. Their abilities are far stronger than the Time Stone, and they are not super beings that it can peek into, so Ancient One doesn't know. She didn't want to know now, so she just thought Chen Shi was deceiving her. I'm going to get serious next time, I hope you won't disappoint me. After saying that, Ji Yuyi suddenly disappeared. Teleport, it's useless in front of me. Chen Shi smiled faintly, and a deep blue divine light suddenly bloomed in front of him. Buzz. Ji Yuyi immediately appeared, but Zhongfeng was already close to him. It seems that Chen Shi has nowhere to escape this time. This is her unique trick, leaving her body. Ancient One used this move to wake up Doctor Strange and the Hulk. It can be said that this move is impossible to guard against. The human soul is too fragile. Once the soul is knocked out, it can only be captured without mercy. At this moment, she seems to have victory in hand, so what can Chen Shi do if he can see her? Suddenly, the super speed movement started, and Ji Yuyi's palm wind suddenly stopped, and time seemed to freeze. Chen Shi moved extremely quickly and took out 10 soul gems from the system space. Buzz. Even if it cannot connect to the soul law of this universe, it itself is not invalid and there is always a trace of energy. 10 soul gems were lined up in a row, standing in front of Chen Shi and emitting the slightest light. He planned to take this move head on, hide. Run. That's impossible, he's not the one who runs away from everything, he's the lunatic. Ji Yuyi's reaction was also very fast. Even if it was only a second, from the time she appeared, Chen Shi slowed down the flow of time and took out the soul gem for defense, it only took a second. Buzz. Endless green light bloomed on her neck, and the eye of Agamotto sensed the change of time, and even felt the same kind. All of this happened between lightning and flint, and the flow of time was suddenly broken by the time gem. However, before Ji Yuyi could react, her confident blow collided hard with the soul gem. However, this time there was no disturbance at all, no feeling at all, it was like everything suddenly disappeared from the world. But only Ji Yuyi and Chen Shi know the danger, and the silent battle is the most deadly. At this time, everything is silent and sound, and the soul level is the most mysterious. Ji Yuyi, who failed to succeed, didn't care at all. Her heart was not in this matter at all. She was completely frightened now. In front of her eyes were 10 soul gems. Who could tell her that this was a dream? She believed it. 10 soul gems. Ji Yuyi's eyes widened at this moment, staring at the row of soul gems in front of him with horrified eyes. Not believing in evil, she counted it carefully again. 1, 2, 5, 10. Really 10. With his body trembling uncontrollably and his fingers shaking slightly, Ji Yuyi stared at Chen Shi and said in a trembling voice. How is this possible? How is this possible? How come you have 10 soul gems? Have you robbed countless parallel universes? No no no. No no no. How could the life court allow it? He will not allow you to do this. Ji Yuyi's voice was hysterical, she was going crazy. What on earth was going on? Where did so many soul gems come from? But, the soul gem in front of me is not a broken stone. All this truly told her that this was not a dream. Ha ha ha. Are you surprised? Are you surprised? Ha ha ha. This is fate. I am destiny. I am the chosen one. Chen Zai's big mouth almost reached his ears. He asked you to treat everything calmly. I'll teach you a lesson today. He hasn't taken out the other infinity stones yet, otherwise Ji Yuyi would be scared crazy. That wouldn't be fun. No, you're not. I don't understand where you got so many infinite stones, but I feel that they have no rules at all. So they are all disabled, they are not activated. Ancient Yi shook his head firmly and retorted loudly. She had held the Eye of Agamotto for hundreds of years, so she naturally felt everything was abnormal. These are infinite gems without much energy. Their activation requires an opportunity, perhaps the soul gem of this universe. Ji Yuyi is worthy of being Ji Yuyi, a wise man who has lived for hundreds of years. She guessed it in an instant. Okay, no matter what happens to them, your out-of-body experience has expired, so from now on, it's rude to not reciprocate. What? Ji Yuyi exclaimed after reacting. However, she was still slow. Click. Her fire-encircling shield shattered, and then a heartbreaking pain came. When she lowered her head and looked down, she saw that a large piece of her arm had been severely cut off, and blood flowed profusely in an instant. Are you doing space magic? Ji Yuda was horrified and shouted, and she immediately used 2 layers of fire-surrounding shield on herself again. Haha, it's just a space blade that makes Master Ji Yuyi laugh. Chen Shi said it very modestly, but the row of big white teeth betrayed him. He was very arrogant at the moment. Space blade. New space magic attack. Ji Yuyi didn't say anything after hearing it. He just wrote it down so that he can develop it when he goes back. She was always on guard against this weird attack without any warning. The next second, the Eye of Agamotto once again released green light and swept it at Ji Yuyi's injured arm. The arm that had been bleeding just now recovered as before, as if it had not been injured. Haha, time gem, this is really good. When Chen Shi saw this, he chuckled and watched quietly. When Ji Yuyi healed his arm, he looked at Chen Shi again. His eyes were neither contemptuous nor calm, but filled with fear and murderous intent. This young man has already made him feel unprecedented pressure. She is afraid that if she blinks again, she will be no match for him. At this moment, she must do something. Otherwise, there is such an uncertain factor on Earth that she is afraid that her successor will not be her opponent at all. No, there is no chance at all. She must work hard for the future. Oh, I'm really going to risk it all to ask you to leave here. Young strong man, I'm sorry. After saying that, Ji Yuyi's eyes condensed and his temperament changed drastically. Space magic. Space exile. Ji Yuyi shouted loudly and quickly formed a seal. As fast as lightning, a khaki-colored circle of light flashing with sparks passed through Chen Shi at lightning speed. However, the next scene was beyond her expectation. She saw Chen Shi standing motionless and looking at her with a smile. As if to say again, you continue, I am waiting for your performance. Ji Yuyi was stunned, she didn't understand. Could it be that the man in front of her was more accomplished in space magic than she was? No, space gem. Ancient One came to his senses. This person had so many unactivated soul gems. Couldn't he also have space gems? Didn't he know the existence of this person just because he was attracted by a burst of space fluctuations? Haha, keep going. Chen Shi smiled softly. It depends on what you do to me. You must be convinced. Ji Yuyi looked deeply at Chen Shi, who was indifferent, and slowly took off the eye of Agamotto from his neck. I hope you can still catch the next move. Time and space magic. Time exile. Buzz. In the eye of Agamotto, the green light flourished, and the dazzling light came out of his body. A mysterious and unpredictable rule instantly enveloped Chen Shi. This is to erase Chen Zai's timeline and banish him to an unknown abandoned timeline, leaving him to fend for himself and never return to the present world. However, what happened next was that the deep blue divine light on Chen Zai's body was even stronger, overwhelming the law of time in an instant. Bo. A slight fluctuation came out, which was the collision of the laws of time and the laws of space, a contest of the supreme laws. However, the time gem was much weaker. Even if Ji Yuyi exerted his full strength and Chen Shi only defended passively, Ji Yuyi's attack was still like a stone's throw. Her whole body was also severely knocked away by this wave. Flop. She didn't resist, but just let the wave of power knock her away. Because she saw the space gem, a stronger space gem. Alas. Why, how come you have a really powerful space gem? Ji Yuyi stood still and asked in despair. Is this the favoritism of the life court? Ancient One knows that there is no God in this world. She only knows that the God of the multiverse is the life court. Of course, there are many real big guys she doesn't know about, and the life tribunal is the limit of what she knows. The person in front of her was no longer something she could stop. It was unbelievable that a person possessed dozens of infinite gems. He was a bit invincible. It's my luck that I have these. Are you worried that I will destroy the timeline and destroy the Earth? Chen Shi looked at the lonely Ji Yuyi. He didn't have any victor's attitude this time, he just spoke calmly. I don't understand you. Ji Yuyi shook his head. She lowered her eyes and did not answer directly. Chen Shi was not surprised at all by her answer. The human heart is the most difficult thing to predict in the world and can change at any time. Maybe you are a friend at this moment and an enemy at the next moment. What are you afraid of? Are you afraid of Domu? Thanos? Because my appearance will bring about unpredictable changes? Chen Shi asked tentatively. He couldn't make any guesses about Ji Yuyi's thoughts. Ji Yuyi didn't speak, just nodded slightly. What she fears most is unknown changes, factors beyond her control that are beyond her calculations. The lineage of Supreme Mage is to protect the Earth from being invaded. Chen Shi laughed loudly after hearing this. Domu, his true body cannot come down. At most, he has the fighting power of a heavenly father. Can he still go to heaven? As for Thanos' purple potato spirit, this guy won't appear until you die and Odin and Hela die. He still doesn't know where in the corner he will implement his so-called policy of killing half and leaving half. This guy is just a guy who doesn't understand anything about biology. Chen Zai's words were rude but not rude, and she expressed all her worries openly. But he really doesn't know that Ji Yuyi is not worried about someone else right now. Ji Yuyi is worried that the biggest variable is him. Ji Yuyi continued to shake his head, but Chen Shi still didn't get to the point. The whole problem now is him. Are you pretending to be confused because you understand? Ji Yuyi looked at him a little depressed, his eyes clearly indicating that he should talk about the important points. Don't worry, the Earth is my hometown. Although I was not born in this universe, it is the Earth after all. Chen Shi did not pretend not to see it this time, he still explained what he meant to Ji Yuyi. Chen Shi thought to himself, am I really sick? If I wasn't sick, how could I destroy the Earth? Are you going to an alien planet to fight for territory? Slave a group of aliens to do handyman services for him? That would be so tiring. After hearing Chen Zai's assurance, Ji Yuyi felt a little relieved. There was nothing she could do. Even though she was powerful, her equipment was too luxurious. Blessed by dozens of infinite gems, what a magical combination this is. This is the difference between Krypton Gold players and ordinary players. They are equipped with luxurious equipment, and you can't even break your defense even if you stand. Although Ji Yuyi failed, the action was successful, and Chen Shi gave her some face. Sorry, I was reckless today. Ji Yuyi said sincerely, his tone also full of apology. Haha, if you don't fight, you won't know each other. I also gained a lot today. Chen Shi said with a smile that he would not suffer any loss anyway and tested the skills of a top boss. Well, if nothing happens, I will take my leave. You are welcome to visit Taj at any time. Ji Yuyi clasped his hands together, bowed slightly, and prepared to leave. Etc. At this time, Chen Shi called out to her. Ji Yuyi froze. Is this coming? That's right. She immediately thought that Chen Shi would definitely ask her for the time stone. Sure enough, Chen Shi spoke. Ancient Yi, I will leave the time gem to you to keep for a while. I will ask you for it in a few years. Well, Ji Yuyi sighed lightly. I guess you need the Infinity Stones from the current universe to activate the Infinity Stones from other universes in your hand, right? Ji Yuyi's guess was correct. Chen Shi didn't hide anything and nodded immediately. He said, don't you think it's safer to leave it to me than anyone else? As for Thanos, he is just a money-giving boy. Chen Shi was right, he was waiting for Thanos to bring him the Soul Stone and the Mind Stone. Ji Yuyi was left speechless by Chen Shi. It was safer to leave it to him than anyone else, and his future would be limitless. Yes, but, she didn't know what to say. No buts. Chen Shi interrupted her, the Supreme Mage you mentioned, I can choose a better one for you. Chen Shi interrupted her train of thought in a few words and recommended a candidate to him. Okay, let's talk about it then. After Ji Yuyi finished speaking, he left. Watching Ji Yuyi leave, Chen Shi stared at the direction she left and became entangled. No one is more suitable for the position of Supreme Mage than Ji Yuyi, but she has already developed the will to die. Once this person wants to die, it is really impossible to pull him back. Wouldn't it be a pity for a thug like Ji Yuyi to die like this? Chen Shi knew that Ji Yuyi was too tired. She was in darkness and her heart was in the light. She was afraid that if she absorbed too much energy from the dark latitude, she would be deceived by Domu, and she was afraid of falling completely into darkness. What can be done now is to let Ji Yuyi step down from his post, and not let her suicide method come to an end, and find someone to take over the position of Supreme Mage. As for Strange, forget it. I'm not familiar with him. You can tell from the movie that this guy has too many ideas. In this case, it's better to let him fend for himself. Being a super awesome surgeon and a beauty in a sports car and villa is perfect for him. Since you want someone to fill that position, you have to find someone of your own. Taj is his own, S.H.I.E.L.D. is his own, even the American Congress is his own. The governor of New York is his foreshadowing. If he is obedient, he will be rewarded with merit and allowed to reach the top. If not, let a clone take his place. Chen Shi, who was sitting on the ground, thought of 3 candidates, each of whom was a good candidate for the Supreme Mage. Wanda, Charles, and Tony are all particularly suitable. Wanda possesses chaos magic, which is the most powerful magic. It is very suitable to learn the Taj spell. Charles is the master of the mind. His spiritual power is infinitely stronger than that of the destined Strange. He is a born magician. As for Tony, his intelligence is undoubted, and it is more than enough for him to be the Supreme Mage. There is already Tony the Supreme Mage. But Tony still needs to be reformed. He has a very bad character and is disobedient. It's time to give this guy a makeover. But even if he can't be the Supreme Mage, he can still learn magic. Magic steel armor, Destroyer understands. After thinking about it, I haven't decided yet, but there is no need to worry about these things, there is still a long time. Patting the sand on his body, Chen Shi remembered the most important thing. The space in this universe must be reinforced, otherwise it will be very dangerous to break the space at every turn. This is your own base camp. Chen Shi took out the super space gem and frantically channeled his energy towards the space gem. The space gem instantly bloomed with divine light, and the invisible law of space instantly enveloped the earth. This surprised many people. It's just that his energy is limited and can only surround the earth, and it's not that dozens of times better. Ancient One, who had just returned to Taj, instantly felt the reinforcement of the earth's space. If he could easily break the space with a serious blow before, he must go all out now. And it seems that my own space teleportation requires more magic energy. For the same distance, I have to spend 5 or 6 times the energy. Oh, I don't know if it's a blessing or a curse. This stable space seems to make the Earth independent of the universe. I hope this guy is a good person, otherwise if he rules the universe, who can stop him? Earth space reinforcement. For her currently, the benefits far outweigh the disadvantages, such as Demomu Mephisto. At this moment, Demomu in the dark latitude suddenly woke up from his deep sleep. He found that the space on Earth that he had been paying attention to had become extremely solid. Fake. What is going on? Has the infinite God taken action? It shouldn't be. How could she pay attention to a small Earth? Demomu was born on the Earth and is determined to devour the Earth. There are many such persistent villains who always have trouble with the Earth. I don't know what there is on the Earth that attracts their prying eyes. Is this the center of the world? Demomu doesn't understand. If he wants to invade the Earth, how much energy will he have to spend? Fake squid. What I can't understand is Mephisto. He doesn't understand either. There is a big gap between his own hell latitude and the Earth's real space. His true body cannot come at all, unless he forces a wave and contacts multiple latitude demons to launch a massive attack. Oh, what's the matter? Even if I get the St. Fengenza contract, I can't get in. Fake. Fake. Where did such a strange thing come from? Who did it? This is not giving us a way to survive. In an old castle in England, an aristocratic old man on crutches cursed and smashed precious antiques, obviously very angry. What can I do with this clone? No one can beat me. He carefully manages various plans and collects souls in order to one day open the passage between the latitude of hell and the real universe and devour the Earth. Even if a 1,000-year plan is lost, even the Pacific Ocean cannot wash away his anger. Odin, who was far away in Asgard, naturally felt that the atrium, that is, the Earth, was suddenly further away from their nominal rule. What is going on? Why has the Earth's space suddenly become so stable? Could it be that Ancient One asked the Infinite God to take action? Is she going to leave? She shouldn't. She shouldn't. With Ancient One on Earth, countless young people can't even take a step forward. Even Odin, the God King, doesn't dare to fight to the death with Ancient One. Ancient One may not necessarily die, but he will definitely be finished. If he were young, Ancient One would definitely not be his opponent, but now he is already decayed and often uses Odin's sleep to maintain his vitality. Maybe he will never be able to unify the 9 realms again in this life. He can only place all his hopes on his son Thor, the god of thunder. But Thor is just a stick now, his brains are all muscles, he is basically a reckless man, and he is not very good at all. Not only these big guys feel it, but also those guys with space system abilities on the Earth feel it. The teleportation distance has become shorter, the energy consumption has increased, the distance to teleport people has become shorter, the attack has become weaker, etc. Of course, the initiator of all this was Chen Shi, who now returned to the villa leisurely and contentedly. System, extract it. Ding, the plot mission Supreme Mage Ancient One has been detected. Can the host extract her abilities and items? Each extraction requires 1 million points. Extract. Ding, 1 million points will be deducted from the host, and any ability extraction will begin. Please wait a moment, host. Another slot machine-like lottery machine appeared in front of Chen's eyes and began to rotate. Invisibility, astral projection, out-of-body experience, telekinesis, teleportation, cross-space teleportation, telekinesis, telepathy, mirror space, etc. Of course, there were too many ordinary magic spells, so the system did not include them. Bew, bew, bew. The cursor started to rotate crazily, and then after a while it clicked and stopped on the telekinesis. Ding, congratulations to the host on getting telekinesis, would you like to fuse it now? Fusion. Ding, start fusion for the host, please wait for the host. After about 5 minutes, the system issued a prompt tone. Ding, the fusion is complete, please check it yourself, host. Is the fusion of thought power completed? This is a happy event. Chen Shi was overjoyed. This was a universal ability. It could attack, defend, and fly. It could penetrate everywhere and play multiple roles at the same time. A beautiful ability, worth $1 million, but she is worthy of being a big shot in ancient times, her telekinesis is not that strong. If it were someone else, this thought power would be worth at most 300,000. After Ji Yu Fang admired herself for a while, he came out of the basement and prepared to go upstairs to check on Qin Gray's condition. This girl is a little emotionally unstable, especially when she has just fully awakened. It's mainly a matter of mentality. Whatever happens to mutants is due to their newly awakened mentality. Whether they are extremely self-optimistic or extremely self-pessimistic, they are particularly dangerous. Obviously, Chin Gray belongs to the latter. However, when Chen Shi found Chin Gray, the little girl was still in a coma. Wanda and number 18 had been sitting and chatting next to her, waiting for her to wake up. When they saw Chen Zai's arrival, they stood up immediately. "Where did you go just now? You ran away in a hurry." Wanda asked, dissatisfied. This guy is so heartless that he let this girl Chin Gray fall asleep. "Hey, don't worry, I know what's going on." Chen Shi touched her little head and spoke softly. Wanda slapped his hand away and gave him a sideways look. "Go away, you haven't been doing anything right all day, hurry up and see when Chin will wake up." "Yeah, let me take a look." How could he not obey his beautiful wife's instructions? After Chen Shi finished speaking, he walked to the bed and sat down. Through telepathy, Chen Shi entered Chin Jailei's mind and found her in a flowery garden on the side. It turns out that this girl is dreaming, but the content of this dream is very distressing. She was swinging on the swing and giggling, her father was swinging slowly on the side, and her mother was sitting on a chair watching the father and daughter play with a smile on her face. This scene is full of family warmth. People and nature are so harmonious. The garden, which is not big or small, is full of laughter and laughter. No one wants to wake up from this, even if they know it is a dream. Chen Shi stood outside the yard and watched all this with a smile, his eyes turning red. This was the dream that Chin Gray longed for, but it was not his dream. His childhood was nothing but cold, hunger, bullying, discrimination, and supercilious looks. He had never longed for the warmth of such a family, but it was no longer possible. Chen Shi stared at all this blankly and couldn't bear to be disturbed. He turned around and prepared to leave, letting her enjoy everything. Maybe she had never slept so well in the past few days. At this time, a gentle female voice came. "Sir, who are you looking for?" Jean Grey's mother stopped him. "Hi, madam, I'm just passing by. I'm not looking for anyone. I'm sorry to bother you." Chen Shi smiled, said nothing more, and moved on. What a strange man. Chin Gray's mother murmured but didn't pay attention. "What's wrong, honey?" her father asked strangely. "Oh, it's nothing. I just saw a young man looking into the yard. I thought he was looking for you, but it turned out he wasn't." Chin Gray's mother explained casually and didn't care at all. "Oh, leave him alone, maybe just passing by." Jean Gray's father didn't care either. But Chin Gray looked back at Chen Zai's leaving figure, and jumped off the swing with a sad expression. "I'm sorry, Mom and Dad, it's time, I should go. The past will eventually pass. I can't stay in the past. Thank you for giving me joy and happiness for so long." At this moment, Chin Gray's voice sounded slightly crying. She was afraid that she would cry uncontrollably. This was all her dream. It was a dream she had weaved for herself. She really missed the warm days in the past. "Goodbye, Mom and Dad, my daughter will always love you." In the end, tears burst out of her eyes, and she could no longer hold back the sadness in her heart. Chin Gray's parents were frightened. What happened to their precious daughter? "Baby, don't scare us." "What happened?" "Yes, as long as we are together as a family, there is nothing we can't solve. Don't hide it from us." They grabbed Jean Gray's hand nervously and asked anxiously, "Something must have happened, this is their only precious daughter." "It's okay, I can handle it myself. Goodbye, Mom and Dad." It's just that Chin Gray didn't say anything, her telepathy surged out, and she gently pushed her parents away. She was afraid that she would destroy everything, so she just kept the last beauty forever. Her parents were naturally just mortals. With this extraordinary ability, they were unable to resist and allowed Chin Gray to leave. Chin Gray left, following in Chen Zai's footsteps. You can only take a deep look at that beautiful garden and regard the warmest scene as the most beautiful memory. "Brother, let's go." "Aha." Chin Gray caught up with Chen Shi and held Chen Zai's big hand with her small hand. Under the setting sun, two figures, one tall and one short, walked farther and farther away, and their shadows stretched longer and longer, forever. In the real world, Chin Gray slowly opened her eyes, and 2 tears slowly rolled down her cheeks, as if it was a farewell ceremony and a complete end to the past. She knew she couldn't immerse herself in the past or fantasy. She already had a family who loved her and protected her. She is no longer an ordinary person, she is a phoenix. Her father has kicked her out, so don't disturb the peaceful life of their new family. Are you awake? Aha! The questions and answers were simple and calm, but they revealed different information. She bid farewell to the past and woke up completely. Chen Shi knew that Chin Gray would not lose control easily. The seal was always a damaging move, and there was no 100% safe cage. Charles put this memory of Jean Grey into a mental prison, which is like a time bomb that will explode sooner or later over time. The Dragon Kingdom understood in ancient times that blocking is always better than sparing. A true warrior dares to face the bleak life. Chen Shi will not set any mental prison for Qin Jie Lei. He is not a saint, and neither is Qin Jie Lei. Everyone has negative emotions. If you have emotions, you have to vent them. Can you keep them in your heart without causing trouble? The restlessness of the Phoenix Force is not just because it is full of desire for destruction. It just so happens that Chin Gray's father's abandonment and mother's death have never let her go, so she will be provoked by the Phoenix Force to explode emotionally. This night, Chin Gray slept extremely quietly, without any random thoughts. It was also the most peaceful night for her recently. The next day, after Chen Shi finished his morning training in battle, he walked down quietly to prepare breakfast for the big family. There was no way, the two of them couldn't count on anything anymore. Now they were slumped on the bed without moving a finger, and they had used up a set of cool pajamas they had carefully prepared. After a while, Chen Shi prepared fried eggs, toast, bacon, sausage, and oatmeal. Of course, they are particularly allergic to milk now, and they will roll their eyes when they see milk. Hey, we are really amazing chefs. This is really a balanced breakfast with meat and vegetables. What a pity, this is America, it's not popular to eat xiaolongbao, tofu, fried dough sticks and spicy soup. I can't even eat fried dough sticks. I have to go to Chinatown to eat them. Unfortunately, there is nothing at this point. 3 pulls a day, and by the time he finished, it was around 10 o'clock, and the breakfast shop in Chinatown had long been closed. Chen Shi is talking to himself here, boasting about himself. Others will definitely think that he is out of his mind. Ding dong, ding dong. As soon as Chen Shi prepared breakfast, the doorbell rang. Hey, who is it? Such a coincidence. This is a good time picker. Queen Hong, open the door. When he opened the door, Chen Shi was a little surprised. Standing at the door was a smiling Natasha with big burgundy and short legs. Hi, dear master, I haven't seen you for a few days. Natasha, who was smiling beautifully, leaned against the door frame and winked at Chen Shi with a charming smile. This shit, if an average person can withstand it, their bones will probably become crispy just by saying, master. But Chen Shi didn't change his expression and glanced at her. What, your bones are weak? You haven't vented for too long, and now you are almost flooded with water. I am really a genius, and you are really golden. Go away, a dog can't spit out ivory from its mouth. People think about it. Can you help them solve it? Natasha's mouth won't suffer, and I won't spoil you. Ahem, I'm afraid you'll rely on me for this. After all, whoever tries our skills knows who we are. Flirting with beautiful women will make your mood better. No, Chen Zai's mood immediately improved when he was depressed about not being able to eat Chinese food. Natasha glanced up and down at him, paying special attention to that key part. The meaning is obvious. What? Is that okay? This provocation is simply not enough. Chen Shi is naturally not the one who suffers. What are you looking at? What kind of look? Don't give it to me even if you want it. It's useless to provoke me. Come in quickly and stop being stuck. Did Nick Fury ask you to spy on me? Chen Shi didn't want to talk nonsense with her. The purpose of her coming was still very simple, and she knew it without guessing. After hearing this, Natasha's face also straightened. Yeah, Nick Fury said that I have been exposed, so why not just get close to you and monitor your every move? As he said that, he moved lightly, walked in slowly, and sat down as if he were at home. That's fine, it's up to you. Chen Shi nodded. Double agent, no matter how you look at it, it looks suitable for Natasha, the Black Widow. Yes, double agent, This feeling is back to the old days. Natasha smiled self-deprecatingly, as if she was always betraying or on the road to betrayal. Join the Red Room, betray the Red Room. Joined S.H.I.E.L.D. and became a double agent. Now he has betrayed S.H.I.E.L.D. and chosen to join Chen Shi. This woman of mine is really fickle. Chen Shi felt the entanglement and loneliness in Natasha's heart, and couldn't help but sympathize with her. The change in life from weak to strong was always full of intrigue and betrayal. Squeezing her little hand, Chen Shi comforted her. Don't worry, you will never have to experience betrayal again. I am here to be your last stop in life. I don't think anyone can give more than I give. Such people don't exist. With a puff, Natasha couldn't help but laugh. It was rare to see such a narcissistic person. How could anyone praise herself like this? Yes, you gave me too much, I can't bear it. Natasha looked at her teasingly, actually imitating the palace fighting drama she saw somewhere. Haha, buddy, I'm not short of money. Are you ready, maid Natasha? Take office now. Yes, dear master. Natasha cooperates with Chen Shi and satisfies his evil taste. It seems that this is how she feels about breaking the taboo. Oh my god, don't I have any special hobbies? Natasha suddenly couldn't help but ask herself, wondering if some of her attributes had been activated. By coincidence, number 18 and Wanda also came down, and brought Natasha the special maid outfit they bought. It turned out that the conversation between the two had long been heard by number 18, which made her excited. It seemed that she could transform Natasha. Chapter 91. Number 18 walked around Natasha in a large circle, constantly making sounds of admiration, touching his chin and nodding from time to time. This action made Natasha feel uncomfortable all over and made her skin crawl. What do you want to do? A somewhat unnatural Natasha asked warily. You're not going to make things difficult for me in any way, are you? I'm not someone to be trifled with. Natasha encouraged herself here, and number 18 on the other side said with a smile. Hey, don't be nervous. I'm not doing anything. I'm just observing whether you are suitable for this job. Who designed this design? It's really crazy. At this time, Chen Shi couldn't stand it any longer. Although he wanted to watch it, he still had basic qualities, so there had to be an adaptation process. Ahem, Lolly, don't force Natasha. Why do you have to force her? After receiving Chen Zai's answer, she breathed a sigh of relief. This broken woman is so bad. Does she want to be defeated? TCH, it's boring. You are so boring, number 18 muttered depressedly. By the way, listen to me, Chin goes to school. Chen Shi suddenly mentioned Chin Gray's education issue, causing them to fall into deep thought. This girl won't be able to go to school. Mutants will always show their differences, which is not good for her or others. Why don't we find a female teacher who graduated from a prestigious school to teach her? We don't need a diploma anyway. Wanda said suddenly and came up with an idea. I think it's okay, as long as I can teach her. I agree too. Everyone echoed loudly and the opinions were quite unanimous. Okay, let's find one in a few days. In this case, Chen Shi agreed. The pleasant time passed quickly while chatting. There was no food at home, so we could only order takeout at noon. After eating, Chen Shi stuffed a card into Natasha. There is some money here. You can go to the supermarket in the afternoon to buy more ingredients and put them in the refrigerator. From now on, you will be the one cooking at home. Natasha was stunned, isn't it? You really want me to be a nanny? Hey, what are you doing? I really want you to be a nanny, or else I'll give you $300,000 for free. Chen Zai's mental power has become so strong, how can she not guess her thoughts? Are you sure? I really want to give you 300,000 yuan. Natasha asked in disbelief. She thought she was just joking to trick Nick Fury, but she didn't expect Chen Shi to really take it seriously. Are you kidding? Snap. Chen Shi raised his hand and slapped him. What's wrong? Do I mean what I say? 300,000 is just 300,000. Natasha glared at him fiercely and said, let's not do anything. Okay, you're not an outsider. Chen Shi didn't know how to write the word shameless at all. Natasha was so angry that she really wanted to bite him to death. Look at his nonchalant look, just like he belonged to his family. They got used to it slowly, and it was really scary to get used to this thing. Chin Gray also rolled her eyes. This stinky brother is good at everything. Chen Shi found a reason to be out of sight and out of mind, and went out directly. Umbrella's secret hive base has cloned many scientific researchers and security personnel. They are all brainwashed clones and will only obey Chen Zai's orders. At this time, Umbrella had not yet recruited external workers, and everything was done in secret. Terminator Texas led the security personnel to purchase raw materials for cloning culture fluids, and produced as many clones as they could. It's just that something went wrong recently. Maybe it's not the same world. There are a lot of ghost orchids in the Resident Evil world, but there are actually very few in this Marvel world. As a result, their progress has actually slowed down, and they have been waiting for the logistics of acquisitions from all over the world. Red Queen, the plan to clone Steve failed. Today he came here just to see the differences in the clone Steve, but when he saw those little Brooklyn guys, he felt a pain in his balls. Sure enough, cloning still doesn't work, and his shortcut to being a chicken thief has been completely blocked. Chen Shi originally thought that if Steve could be cloned, he would really become rich. If Steve, who was mutated by drugs, could be cloned, and so many mutants are born with mutated genes, then if he could be cloned, wouldn't he be prosperous? Endless superpowers, fused with all his strength, but he still can't take off from where he is. It's a pity that this shortcut is blocked. God does not allow such bugs to exist. Otherwise, if you think about it, if you can clone it directly, wouldn't it be a mess? Chen Shi pouted. After all, there is no free lunch, forget it. Mutants also come from ordinary people. If the cloned mutants cannot awaken directly, then it is better to wait for ordinary people to awaken. It can be said that every ordinary person carries a recessive mutant gene. This is the experimental base of the Celestial God group, and everyone can awaken. It's just that this experiment failed the Celestials. They created a race that was completely uncontrollable. The powerful individuals in the race could actually kill the gods at will. Forget it, these mutants awakened when they encountered major changes and mental changes. It was a rare thing, so Chen Shi decided not to force it. Red Queen, use these little Brooklyn guys as experimental subjects to conduct experiments on the Super T virus serum. If these Steves can succeed, then ordinary people can also succeed. It can be regarded as cloning them and reusing them. Chen Shi thought about it, this can't be wasted. The experiment requires a large number of experimental subjects, and they can't release them. Wouldn't it cause panic in New York and even the world? Yes, Lord. The Red Queen naturally followed the instructions and made the best use of their remaining energy. There are only a few of them, which is not enough. We need a large number of experimental subjects. The Red Queen said again. Experiments require a large number of experimental subjects. Without a large amount of data, everything is in vain. Alice is an example. The T virus is only a gene suitable for her. If others use it, they are almost ruined. What the Red Queen said made sense. Chen Shi touched his chin and began to think about countermeasures. This was a problem. After just thinking about it for a while, Chen Shi came up with it. Don't worry, I will bring a large number of experimental subjects soon. Chen Zai's solution is naturally to use death row inmates or life-term prisoners in prison. These people deserve to die, and while they deserve to be killed, it is also good to make some contribution to them. Okay, wait for news from the Lord. Chen Shi has a way, and the Red Queen believes it. Her boss is naturally the most mysterious existence. He can summon her across the universe. It is not an exaggeration to say that he is a god. TX, come here. Chen Shi shouted again to Terminator Texas, who was waiting aside. Bang bang bang, Terminator Texas immediately ran over with an expressionless face. This guy can't laugh, even T-800 can laugh. Boss, you have something to tell me. Well, he still looks serious. Chen Shi didn't force it. He didn't have an expression system at all. What could he do? He said, in this way, I will go to several prisons and get some prisoners to come over. When the time comes, you will see these violent madmen coming through the portal and you will catch them. As long as they resist, break their legs immediately. They don't have to die anyway. It's just a good test to see if our T-virus can regenerate severed limbs. Chen Shi knew that these guys in prison who were on death row or without a life sentence were all extremely vicious people. Because this is America. In a country where the cost of committing a crime is extremely low, where someone can be sentenced to death or life in prison, who is that? To deal with such people, cold-blooded robots like Texas must use more violent methods. Texas nodded expressionlessly and said, "Yes, boss." Chen Shi gave the order and left. Robbing some death row prisoners was too simple for him. New York's Rikers Island Prison, as its name suggests, is a small island prison. It holds a total of more than 12,000 criminals, including 800 over criminals. Of course, this is also the most notorious prison in the world. There is no humanity in New York's Rikers Island Prison. Incidents such as stabbings, murders, and attacks on inmates and guards often occur without any punishment, and some guards even use prisoners to enforce the law against each other. The serious criminals here are all good prospects. They are in great shape and meet Chen Zai's requirements very well. The experiment depends on them. Today's Chris Island prison is still sunny and prosperous. Of course, it would be great if there was not a boxing match going on during the break. The contestants on both sides were evenly matched, each looking more ferocious than the other, with blood-red eyes and a sinister and perverted smile at the corners of their mouths. Of course, it would have been perfect without some ketchup on their noses and faces. The inmates were not surprised. They were surrounded by 3 floors inside and 3 floors outside. Everyone had an excited and ferocious smile, and they wanted to go on stage and have a crazy fight. The ferocious animal nature in his heart has been aroused, turning into a state of fanaticism without fear or concern for anything. "Peter, come on, choke and insert eyes. Deus, you can't kick his balls. How wonderful it would be to just pop them. Fake, don't wait any longer. There will be another round after the fight. The winner can smoke a pack of cigarettes. A bottle of vodka. Come on, don't waste time. Fake." Everyone almost died of panic. This was a pack of cigarettes and a bottle of vodka. Who could resist such a huge temptation? With the instigation of the crowd, the atmosphere at the scene was also pushed to its peak. The atmosphere had reached this point, and there was no way to continue standing. "Ah, ah," the 2 desperados roared and punched each other, almost touching each other in the blink of an eye. Bang, bang, bang. There are no fancy show-style attacks in the prison, they are all real attacks with punches to the flesh. Anyway, Peter used all possible means. Peter punched Deus in the waist with a sneak attack. Deus showed no weakness, as if he couldn't feel the pain, and directly grabbed the arm that hit his waist with his right hand. With such force, Peter immediately wanted to attack Deus's head again with his right fist. Unexpectedly, Deus, who had been prepared, raised his leg and hit him hard in the abdomen with a knee. The pain made Peter's movements lag. There was a bang and a muffled hum. It wasn't over yet. Naturally, Des followed up with an elbow without mercy. Taking advantage of Peter's moment of pain and distraction, he hit him in the chest again. Poof! A large mouthful of blood immediately spurted out for free. This time, the knee-to-elbow blow was unbearable to watch, and Peter fell down immediately. He probably died on his own, but no one here would save him. Ha ha ha, ha ha ha. Deus laughed like a winner. The excitement and bloodthirsty in his eyes was unspeakably perverted, and there were rewards for killing people. He loved this place so much. The surrounding prisoners were also directly ignited with all their enthusiasm by the sudden scene, and the atmosphere became more and more lively. Everyone was yelling, dancing and cheering. I don't know what they were cheering for. Anyway, they just yelled casually when the atmosphere was up. Des, Deus newbie is worthy of being a butcher. Ha ha ha, Boss Deus, don't be stingy with your cigarettes and wine tonight, I can exchange them. In addition to shouting Deus's name loudly, they just wanted to buy his cigarettes and wine. There is no business here, only the prison will arrange such inhumane fights. The winner will be served by alcohol and tobacco, while the loser will lighten the burden of the prison. Just when everyone was cheering and Deus was about to receive his cigarettes and alcohol, a figure suddenly appeared in the center of the scene. Everyone was stunned. Is this dissatisfaction? The passion was ignited again. They didn't expect that this game would have such highlights. Ha ha, Deus, someone provokes you, tease him. Hey, brother, you're not walking in the wrong direction, are you? He's the butcher Deus beast, and you're not strong enough to punch him, ha ha. No, brother, kill this butcher, ha ha. Deus also looked at the guy wearing a mask with disdain. He didn't remember wearing such clothes in prison. Could it be that this guy is a foreign aide from outside, specifically here to deal with them? In the stands not far away, the warden was shocked. How did this man appear? It was too sudden. Dirge, did you arrange this? He turned to look at the deputy in surprise, thinking he had arranged it. Unexpectedly, Adjutant Deeg shook his head. Boss, I didn't arrange it. This guy showed up out of nowhere. Shit, the warden cursed secretly. Their prison system actually allows people to come and go at will. What a broken security system. Dirge, if you are going to collect the body, just pretend that nothing happened. If there is no door to hell and he breaks in, then you can't blame anyone else. The prison said gloomily, just die, they die every day, it's not surprising. At this moment, Guy C, who was present, didn't know what was going on with this guy, but he didn't take Chen Shi seriously at all. He said harshly, boy, if you don't want to punch me for your size, I'll give you a chance. Kneel down and kowtow now, I can spare your life. Ha ha ha, am I merciful? After he finished speaking, he burst out laughing, as if he had a special sense of accomplishment in controlling other people's lives. The same was true at the scene, with people shouting, kneel down, kneel down. Chen Shi looked at these ants, they were so overestimated that they really needed a beating before death. 99% of their experimental subjects will die, but unfortunately they have to go through a lot of physical pain before they die. Stop talking, then go and die. Chen Shi said lightly. The prisoners burst out laughing when they heard this. Was this a joke invited by the monkey? To entertain them? However, the next second their faces were beaten until they were swollen. I saw Chen Shi reaching out and holding it, and the steel mesh in the distance rose up from the ground and began to deform as it flew in the air. In a very short time, it turned into a huge iron cage and surrounded everyone. Now they can't escape. The butcher Deus who was shouting just now was nailed to the ground by a spear that came from nowhere. Before he died, he still looked terrified. It turned out that his life was really so fragile. Only the surviving criminals recovered from the brief shock, and then they burst into horrified roars. It turned out that they could not remain calm in the face of death, wailing like frightened wild dogs. Those with softer bones and those who are timid will kneel down and kowtow. My lord, please let us go. We were wrong, please. Your Majesty has a lot of them, just treat us like a fart. They have no way to escape. Maybe by delaying it, the prison can save them. Chen Shi just watched their performance quietly. Even if the King of Heaven comes, I can't save them. Murderers will always be killed. Imagination is beautiful, reality is cruel. Chen Shi just wants to congratulate them. Hey, be ridiculous, you can live for one more minute, and you can choose to recall your life. Yes, the prison authorities naturally discovered that such a big movement is more terrifying than a terrorist attack. This is a blatant prison robbery. Fake squid, is this okay? Suddenly, a shrill alarm sounded over the prison, and all the guards were alerted for a moment. Whoosh, 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 quick, shoot for me, aim at that guy, no. No need to aim, just shoot for me. This is a premeditated prison robbery. He is a mutant, give me a tranquilizer bomb. He can control metal. The warden yelled in panic, is this Magneto? Judging from his age, he is not Magneto, could it be that another Magneto comes out of the mutants? If that's the case, isn't it the end of the world? At this time, Chen Shi was standing there, waiting for them. He wanted to take away all the prisoners openly. He had never done such a fun thing as robbing a prison. Taking these felons away by himself will save the country many unnecessary resources. He is doing a good deed. In a short while, hundreds of soldiers with guns and live ammunition were ready. They had plenty of tranquilizer bombs. After all, they couldn't kill people at will. There were always tranquilizer bombs in the prison. Shooting. When the warden saw Chen Shi standing there majestically, he simply didn't take them seriously. He must be taught a lesson. With an order, the anesthetic bullets flew towards the cage in dense numbers, completely indiscriminately. With a thought in Chen Zai's mind, a transparent telekinesis shield only covered himself. The anesthetic bomb hit the telekinesis hard, making a thump dong dong sound, but it was of no use. The tranquilizer bombs fell to the ground feebly, but the prisoners were not so lucky. Few of them escaped the fate of being hit, and they all fell down helplessly. Fake. What kind of ability does this guy have? Isn't it the ability to control metal? Seeing Chen Shi unscathed, the warden's jaw dropped in shock. In order to test Chen Zai's ability, he decisively ordered again, all the soldiers on my right should use ordinary bullets and shoot me hard. For a moment, half of the soldiers replaced them with ordinary bullets and shot at Chen Shi again. This time, Chen Shi will not be polite. Countless bullets, whether they were tranquilizer bombs or ordinary bullets, stopped in front of everyone's horrified eyes, completely floating in the air and motionless. Everyone was so frightened that they forgot to pull the trigger. They could only stare at the incredible scene in front of them with their mouths wide open and their eyes wide open. They had heard of it but had never seen anything like it. Chen Shi opened his mouth and pushed his right hand back slightly against all the bullets, only to see all the bullets return the same way they came. Ah, puff puff puff. No matter who it is, all living beings are equal at this moment. The screams resounded through the sky. If you were lucky, it was an anesthetic bullet, if you were unlucky, it was an ordinary bullet. When the bullet enters the body, the muffled sound can be heard endlessly. Those who hit it in the back may sleep for a few hours, those who hit it poorly will be injured, and those who hit the back will be shot out. Then life and death are really determined by fate, and wealth and honor are in heaven. Now there are people everywhere wailing and screaming. Of course, the warden is not immune to the disaster. He has been given special care and he has probably seen Satan now. The law of the jungle is so simple. For this notorious prison, the warden and all the guards are murderous guys. They connive at perverts and kill wantonly. Even if they are not serious criminals, there is no telling how many people have died in their hands. Kill them without blinking an eye. Call it done. Chen Shi clapped his hands and the whole world became quiet. Looking at the serious criminals and murderers everywhere, Chen Shi would not have any mercy. They are all people who deserve to die, and to still be able to survive in this world is the greatest insult to the people they killed. The United States does not easily have the death penalty. Even if it is sentenced to death, it is useless. You can still spend money to appeal and find connections. Some magnetism began to emerge from the palm of Chen Zai's hand, and he controlled the steel bars to become as thick as wires, tying up the group of people one by one, making them look like gangsters. With dozens of efforts, all the guys were quickly tied up. Chen Shi used the space gem to open the space channel, controlled the dumplings with telekinesis, and threw them in one after another. When the Texas at the other end saw the space channel opening, he immediately asked all security guards to prepare. Sure enough, there was movement on the other end soon, and they saw tightly tied prisoners being thrown out one after another. Quick, reinforce them all like this and send them to the laboratory for researchers to use as experimental subjects. Texas quickly ordered Umbrella's security guards to arrange their final destination for these fine experimental subjects. Most prisoners will be injected with T-virus serum in a dazed state, which can be considered a kind of comfort, at least it does not make them feel fear or despair. As soon as the injection is administered, various adverse reactions appear, and the remaining ones are more unlucky. They must stay awake as the next batch of experimental subjects for the improved serum. When the last prisoner was transported, Chen Shi also left. Naturally, such a major event that shocked the world could not be concealed. In less than half an hour, it spread throughout the United States. The New York City Hall is about to explode. Citizens are calling the City Hall to complain and ask how such a big movement can be concealed. The gunshots rang out in the prison and spread far away, even heard by nearby residents. Now the entire New York City government is in a state of panic, with several people in one head. The phone lines were buzzing, everyone was calling, and all lines were busy. Those who couldn't get through didn't even wait, and those who couldn't get in were driven straight to the City Hall building. Now the mayor of New York, Victor, is scratching his head and pacing back and forth in the office. He is now restless. The group of people outside cannot ignore it and are waiting for him to comfort him. He doesn't know how to appease or arrest criminals now. These words cannot be said easily. He is a super mutant like Magneto. How can he be caught just by saying he is there? Governor, what should we do now? The crowd outside is expanding, and countless people are coming here. Please make an idea quickly. When Victor was frowning, the office door was pushed open, and the panicked secretary pushed in directly, sweating profusely and looking nervous. He doesn't care about etiquette and gentlemanly demeanor. If this thing doesn't work well, they will all be dismissed from get out of class. Wait, let me think about it again, Victor rubbed his hands, paced back and forth, lowered his head and thought about countermeasures. Forget it, sir, it's too late. Go out now and find any excuse to get rid of the problem. The secretary took a look and thought of a way to get rid of the blame. Don't worry about so many things. Yes, shirk it, get away quickly, it won't affect me anyway. Victor's eyes lit up and he immediately clarified his thoughts. He could not take the responsibility on himself and leave it to others. Just do what you say. Victor, who wants to understand, immediately walks out. Why does he care so much? Just get rid of him. The square of the City Hall building was already a sea of people. It was a sea of people and there was no place to stay. Fake. These guys are causing trouble. Anyway, these people are unemployed and have nothing to do. As soon as Victor saw it, he began to guess. This was not the weekend, and all the people here were idle. The sharp-eyed guys in this group of people immediately discovered that Victor and his party had come out, and immediately pointed the finger at Victor. Mr. Governor, please give us an explanation, we need to live safely. Give us an explanation why the prison on Chris Island was attacked. It's too dangerous. Mr. Governor, even if Chris Island is an island, if a prisoner escapes by swimming, how can our safety be guaranteed? Yeah, we need to explain there are more security guarantees. Yes, we won't leave unless you give me an explanation. I'm not leaving. If someone took the lead, it would be better to follow suit and start making noises. For a moment, the crowd was furious and boiling emotions broke out. Someone is obviously instigating this, and Victor seems to have a clear conscience in his heart. Naturally, he will not let this trouble continue. Taking over the secretary's loudspeaker, Victor spoke directly. Everyone, if you want to hear me explain the situation, please be quiet, otherwise you won't hear anything. He only said this, and most of the crowd slowly calmed down. Other troublemakers must not show up, otherwise they will be noticed. After seeing this, Victor sorted out his thoughts for a moment before continuing to speak. Everyone, I will inform everyone about the exact news we have received. Everyone knows that the prisoners in Chris Island prison are all extremely vicious people, right? Many of them are gangsters, drug lords, etc. Their men planned this prison robbery. But our army immediately sealed off the entire prison on Chris Island. After a fierce battle, we wiped out the group of terrorists. Of course, many soldiers and a small number of prisoners in the prison were killed in the battle. Victor yelled at the top of his lungs and pushed the blame directly to some drug lord, gangster, etc. Anyway, everyone hated such a terrorist, so he was the best person to take the blame. Of course, not everyone would leave so easily, and someone immediately asked, Mr. Governor, what you said seems to make sense, but who can guarantee that no fish will slip through the net and dive away? Yes, what should I do if I escape to take revenge on society? The people there are all crazy and perverted. Yes, Mr. Governor, please assure us that our lives are safe. Fake. Victor secretly cursed, these thorns. He pressed his hands hard against the crowd that was about to boil again, and continued to shout at the top of his lungs, don't worry, we can be sure that no one has escaped from the prison. If anyone can catch the prisoner who escaped from Chris, the city government will reward him. $5 million. Money touches people's hearts. I don't know what else is more convincing than this. Victor immediately made a ruthless move. He knew that none of the ordinary prisoners escaped, but all the heavy-duty prisoners were captured by the mutants. Sure enough, upon hearing this, the eyes of this group of people lit up. 5 million. Now I don't have to work for the rest of my life, and I can live a very comfortable life. So the crowd dispersed in a hurry. In the free America, anyone who is an adult can apply to buy a gun. They all went to wander around Chris Island. Even if they escaped, they were still running for their lives, and they didn't have any weapons in their hands. SHIELD was extremely solemn here. Nick Fury looked at the satellite surveillance with a dark face. He knew immediately from his figure that the guy was Chen Shi. Captain, what do you think about this? Nick Fury looked up at the silent man beside him. The person next to Nick Fury is naturally none other than Captain America Steve, who has just woken up from the freeze. Captain America, who has just woken up, is still very confused. He is only temporarily living under the command of SHIELD. Now his appearance has made many people sleepless at night. Countless official organizations are working on his ideas. Steve's influence is too great. Getting his support is equivalent to getting the support of the people. It's just that how could a thief like Nick Fury hand over the chips he worked so hard for? Everyone who came to act as lobbyists was kicked out. SHIELD doesn't care what kind of organization you are. They are in charge of the United States in name, but they are a worldwide organization. Steve, dressed in stars and stripes, looked at the godlike man in the video and couldn't help but feel shocked in his heart. He sighed sadly. Have I been eliminated by the Times? Why are there such godlike people in the world? In the video, while Chen Shi was talking and laughing, the enemy was suddenly defeated, and the rain of bullets in the sky seemed like nothing. The invisible shield allowed bullets to pour out, and time and space seemed to be condensed when he raised his hand. These miracles deeply subverted Steve's inherent worldview. In his time, he was what people call a Superman, but what is he seeing now? Is it God? Director Nick, do you think I have been eliminated? There is no need for the super soldier Steve Rogers in this era. Steve looked at Nick Fury with a lonely expression, as if he could give him the answer. What did Nick Fury say? Did he say he was eliminated? Then he is a fool. Now his main purpose is to stabilize Steve, join their shield, and use his appeal to form the Avengers. He patted Steve's shoulder gently and comforted. Although I don't know how powerful he is, I know that his heart is far less powerful than yours. He will not make any contribution to the United States, he will only harm the United States, and you. Captain America Steve is the superhero that the country and the people need. Force can never measure a person's strength. His strength is only his personal strength, and you. Give all Americans strong spiritual strength. The American people need you, you can bring them strength, cheer up, Captain America Steve Rogers. Nick Fury is worthy of being a leader in the MLM world. He has deceived one powerful person after another. He is so eloquent. These words directly ignited Steve's passion. The people of America need him. This sentence was enough. He seemed to have found his first goal since his resurrection, serving the United States. Steve stood up with a swish of energy, and he was full of energy. He said loudly with the fullest enthusiasm, "Please rest assured, Director Nick Fury, Super Soldier Steve Rogers understands." Okay. Nick Fury's face suddenly turned into a smile, and the pleats he wore could almost kill a fly, not to mention how dazzling his big white eyes were. It's better now. America is so lucky that you can cheer up. Welcome back, Soldier Steve Rogers. Nick Fury solemnly saluted Steve, and his next sentence of, returning to the team, completely pulled Steve into his team. When Steve heard the words, soldiers returning to the army, he was even more excited and burst into tears. He seemed to have returned to the passionate days of the past. He returned the salute vigorously and shouted loudly, "Yes, sir." Steve's official joining makes Nick Fury feel that all the efforts are worth it. Regarding Chen Zai's behavior, he can only secretly observe his purpose at present, if he really wants to summon Carol to return. Nick Fury came back to his senses and said to Steve, "Captain, you go back and rest first. I'll ask Sharon Carter to walk around with you and adapt to this era." Sharon Carter. Steve was in a trance. Peggy Carter, are you still alive? Maybe he is really gone. He asked nervously. What is the relationship between Sharon Carter and Peggy Carter? Is Peggy still alive? After waking up, he was thinking about Peggy and the unfinished date. Nick Fury smiled and said, "You guessed it right, Sharon Carter is Peggy Carter's niece, and Peggy is still alive. You can go meet Peggy. I think she will be very excited to see you alive. She has no regrets." Is this true? Steve asked with his eyes widened and even more excited than before. Of course, it's true. Nick Fury smiled and nodded. Ha ha ha, great, I'm going to find her now, I can't wait. Steve fell into ecstasy, his sky lit up, his face turned red and he covered his head, everything was so unbelievable. Okay, I'll let you go now. After Nick Fury finished speaking, he shouted toward the door, "Agent Sharon Carter, come in." As soon as he finished speaking, the door opened, and a beautiful agent who looked somewhat similar to Peggy Carter walked in. Report, Sharon Carter reports to you. Sharon Carter, a beautiful girl who is also one of Steve's future girlfriends, is also Peggy Carter's niece. I have to say that Steve still knows how to play. If Chen Shi knew that he was both aunt and nephew, he would definitely feel inferior. When Sharon Carter took Steve to meet her old lover Peggy Carter, Chen Shi was not idle. Now every move of the entire shield is under the surveillance of the Red Queen, including the cameras and audio equipment in Nick Fury's office, which are all means of monitoring him. Master, we just detected that Nick Fury asked Steve to go to Peggy Carter. He has successfully won over Steve. What's even more interesting is that Alexander Pierce actually controlled Sharon Carter, a woman. I don't know what the handle was. Now it's become more confusing. It was probably Alexander Pierce who threatened Sharon Carter with Peggy Carter's life. These old foxes are really interesting. They have gone too far in their calculations and conspiracy. Now everyone's attention is on Steve and they are all trying to figure out his plans. The Red Queen listened to all the key information from Nick Fury and Pierce, which shocked her. The fighting in this nest is really fierce. Chen Shi laughed loudly after hearing this. This shield is really a palace battle drama, not too exciting at all, with all kinds of forces appearing in full force. In his estimation, there must be other forces secretly observing Steve's every move. Red Queen, you can check the information about the Winter Soldier, Bucky Barnes, from Pierce's computer and see where he is hiding in Siberia. Since they are all here, we have to let them have fun. The water must be mixed as turbidly as possible, otherwise I will be sorry for my hard work in fishing Steve out. This quagmire must be chaotic and draw everyone into this chaos, so that we can fish in troubled waters. Chen Shi touched his chin and laughed. Now the whole of New York is in chaos. The center of the storm is Steve, so why not add Bucky? Civil war ahead of schedule. It's interesting. Directly explode all the contradictions. I am tired of waiting for so long. Stop pretending, show your cards, I'm just tired of it. This time let's see how Steve handles it and how Nick Fury faces Tony Stark. The Red Queen is so fast that the entire shield defense system is useless in front of her, and Pierce's personal computer defense is naturally useless. Found it, a Hydra base at 33 degrees north latitude and 65 degrees east longitude, northeast of the Archidous Mountains in Siberia. Now he has just performed a certain task and fell into a passive state of sleep again. The Red Queen immediately reported the exact location of the Hydra base to Chen Shi, which was very efficient. Okay, is this right? Chen Shi nodded, and the matter became clear. Oh, it's true. I really don't have many people under my command. It seems that my Justice League is about to be built. The boss always does it himself. Then I am so shameless, right? Chen Shi thought about it. He was too cheap, he had to do everything by himself, he had no one under him. In order to make yourself look more powerful, you have to pull up the team. With a wave of your hand, thousands of juniors rush upward. That scene is what a boss should have. Look at the purple sweet potato spirit, the 5 black generals, and the army of billions of Chidori, which is full of force. After a while, Chen Shi teleported directly over. This was indeed Siberia. This October season was as cold as winter. Unfortunately, this bullshit Hydra knows how to choose a place. Only ghosts will come to places where birds don't poop. Chen Shi wanted to see the snowy and freezing environment nearby. There were not many people for hundreds of kilometers around, so he really wouldn't be exposed. Red Queen, can you hack into the network here? Chen Shi suddenly asked. Master, the signal here has been cut off. I can't get in. They will only connect to the internet when they are in contact with the outside world. The Red Queen's helpless voice came. There was nothing she could do in a place without internet. Oh, forget it, it doesn't matter. Chen Shi shrugged and didn't care. At this moment, the moment Chen Shi arrived, the Hydra base had discovered his existence. Isn't it very strange that someone suddenly comes to this desolate and remote place? Sir, there is a person outside. He is sneaky and I don't know what his purpose is. The soldiers in the control room immediately reported the incident. After hearing this, the base commander frowned and lowered his head in thought. It's strange. It's definitely coming for them. As for what it's about, it's not a good thing anyway. Come here, send a team of soldiers out. If you can catch them alive, catch them alive. If you can't catch them, just kill them. He made a decision in the next second. No matter what, he would be captured or killed. Yes, sir. As soon as the soldiers heard this, they immediately prepared to go out and arrest Chen Shi. However, before they could make any move, the entire base began to shake violently. There's an earthquake. What's going on? This is not an earthquake zone. Ah, no, no, the building is deforming. Oh no, help, help. The metal is moving and deforming. Mutants. We have never had any grudges with mutants, why? In an instant, the entire Hydra base was in chaos. Everyone yelled in terror and began to run away frantically along the passage. If they didn't run, it would be too late. They only wished that their parents would lose 2 legs. The beams of the Hydra base are collapsing, the soil, sand and gravel are no longer distinguishable, and the entire base is actually being destroyed. Every room is collapsing. Huge rocks, steel and concrete are smashing into the ground, desks, and various instruments and equipment for free. It was like a strong earthquake in the base, which was directly uprooted by Chen Zai's terrifying magnetism. Countless Hydra soldiers, as well as the management and squad leaders, fled to death. But where can we escape? The elevator and passageways are damaged. The base was in a mess at the moment, with ruins and walls everywhere as far as the eye could see. The dense and busy scene just now was long gone, and the base that looked like science fiction was also destroyed. Chen Shi stood tall on the ruins, terrifying magnetism burst out from his palms, and the invisible power seemed to come from the judgment of death. He gave the already ruined Hydra base a hard grip, and then Chen Shi looked sharply, and a cold light suddenly appeared. "Wake me up." The deep voice was like the final verdict. As Chen Shi raised his hand fiercely, the terrifying magnetic storm caused the entire base to slowly rise like a reaction force. Boom, boom. This mountain range is filled with rolling stones, and it looks like it has been bombarded by countless super missiles, and it has blossomed. The dust brought up filled the sky, and the huge movement was heard by residents hundreds of miles away, and even alerted the entire Maozi Kingdom's defenders. Chen Shi grabbed the mountain with his right hand, kicked up the sky with both legs, and flew freely in the air while grabbing the 7 or 8 kilometers long mountain range under the horrified eyes of countless satellites. They went completely crazy. Countless people stared at his actions in stunned silence. There were no words or exclamations. Some were just terrified and silent. Silence. Is this still a human being? No, it's beyond human reach. Chen Shi held the mountains in his hands and looked around, showing people some myth like a god. When he came to the nearby plains, everyone was stunned. Because Chen Shi was flying all the way, everyone discovered that people kept falling from the mountains and their lives were unknown. Especially Mao Zedong. Their defense chief looked horrified and frightened. They saw that those who fell to death were soldiers wearing Hydra logo clothing. This is the great irony. Their biggest enemy is actually hiding in their hinterland and they don't know anything about it. If the man hadn't dug them out of the mountains, they might never have discovered it. With such an enemy in our own hinterland, if one day we detonate an atomic bomb, the consequences can be imagined. As he thought about it, his back was slowly wet with cold sweat, and there were fine beads of sweat on his forehead. This was terrible. Thank God, thank the Eastern God, he saved countless people of Maozi Kingdom. The defense chief of Mao Zedong quietly wiped the cold sweat from his forehead and couldn't help but murmur to himself. Suddenly, his eyes turned cold, and murderous intent suddenly appeared. Come here, please send an order now. Use metal detectors and life detectors to search all mountains and wastelands across the country. I don't believe it. If you can find one Hydra base, there will be 2, 3 or even 10. There are quite a lot of wasteland and mountains in the country, and these rats can hide really deep. The chief of defense decisively issued the order. No matter how long this operation lasts and how much manpower, material and financial resources are spent, it must be carried out. National security and people's safety are paramount. The messenger yelled, "Ula," and immediately began to notify the garrison in various places. Similarly, the top brass of the United States, Hydra's mortal enemy, were also shocked. Their victory decades ago turned out to be fake. Their opponents are now alive and kicking. The Hydra base was pulled up by Chen Shi. It was like a hard slap on their faces. The loud slap made their faces swollen and painful. Everyone's face was burning. It hurts. This has been a false honor for half a century, and they have been secretly laughed at by Hydra many times for what they did. Now that it is made public, it will cause a loss of face. The Secretary of State was even more angry and yelled, "Hydra, what a bunch of filthy creatures that are haunting. Come here, Come here. Give me the order. Now all the mountains and Gobi deserts in the United States have to dig 3 feet of ground. This group of scum in the dark must not only be hiding in Mousy Kingdom, there must be some here as well. The video conference on the parliamentary side was passed immediately, and the speed was jaw-dropping. This is their shame, which must be washed away with blood. At this moment, high-level officials all over the world are watching Chen Zai's next actions, and his every move affects the hearts of the world. Is he destruction, or revenge? Destroying Hydra on behalf of justice or revenge against Hydra? I don't believe it when it comes to ambitious villains or crazy villains who destroy them purely for the sake of destruction. If you wanted to cause destruction and carry out terrorist attacks, would you still wait until this time? The answer is no. A few minutes later, Chen Shi came to a more desolate permafrost plateau, where innocent people would not be harmed. He threw the Hydra base hard and came into close contact with the ground. Boom! A shocking sound was heard, and people within a dozen miles around could clearly feel the earth shaking. Even if the ground was made of hard frozen soil, a huge crater 2 meters deep was created. All the soldiers in the Hydra base were beaten to death. In Chen Zai's perception, only the Winter Soldier survived while holding the pillar. At this moment, the entire human hierarchy is paying attention to what Chen Shi will do next and what he wants to get. It's no joke to go to such great lengths to uproot the Hydra base without any hesitation. What is his purpose? Everyone stared at him, holding their breath, without blinking, for fear of missing some crucial moment. Standing proudly in the air, Chen Shi immediately sensed the location of Bucky, the Winter Soldier, through telepathy. Bucky, who was telepathically speaking, had a confused expression on his face and was hugging a concrete pillar. I have to say that this guy's reaction was really fast. When he felt himself taking off, he grabbed the pillar next to him. He guessed that he was going to fall, but he didn't know what happened. Being able to lift a base with a mountain directly out of the ground, is this something that a human being can do? He immediately ruled out manpower, and only thought that it was a state machine that took action. Seeing Bucky's appearance, Chen Shi smiled. Is this the Winter Soldier who has no consciousness and can only follow orders? It's just a big horse monkey. It's so funny. Chen Shi almost died laughing. Whoosh! Chen Shi appeared above the base again, and the terrifying magnetic storm burst out from the palm of his hand again, spinning hard in a circle towards the base below, and then pulled it upwards. Then the entire base exploded, and everything was exposed to everyone's sight. They discovered that this base was actually too big, completely occupying the 7 to 8 kilometers of fractured mountain range. Broken instruments, scattered weapons and ammunition, and all kinds of materials are dazzling. This is a small city. It is conceivable how long they have been in business. Everyone is horrified by the forbearance of Hydra. The poisonous snakes that spy in secret are the most deadly. They have brought the nature of snakes to the extreme. Everyone looked at each other and saw the same emotion called fear in each other's eyes. Hydra was hiding it too deeply. Chen Shi teleported directly to the Winter Soldier's location and prepared to take him away. This time, his goal was achieved. Hey, Bucky, come with me and I'll take you to meet your old friend Steve Rogers. Chen Shi looked at Bucky with a smile and said, who knew that Bucky didn't say anything at all, and just punched Chen Shi. He was really a typical example of a ruthless person who doesn't talk much. It's just that his robotic arm has 4 tons of power, and it will be very painful if he is hit by it. Boom! There was a dull impact sound, and Bucky's mechanical arm hit an invisible wall hard, which was of course useless. Haha, you are disobedient. It seems that I am no longer so polite to you. In this case, just be obedient. Seeing the sneer on Chen Zai's face, Bucky was about to attack again, but his robotic arm began to move and twist. Click, click. In less than 3 seconds, Bucky roared crazily, and the mechanical arm twisted and tore off the link directly. The pain was unforgettable, like having his arm ripped off deeply. The nerves are connected. How can you slowly spin your arm 360 degrees and then tear it off? Who can bear it? Bucky immediately fell to his knees in pain, covered his broken arm and began to howl. The severe pain directly broke through Hydra's brainwashing program, and the huge pain made Bucky wake up. Ah, it hurts. It hurts. Who am I? Where am I? Who are you? Bucky woke up, and his brain couldn't process so much information for a while, but he finally regained consciousness. I remembered. I am Bucky Barnes. I was captured by Hydra and experimented on. Bucky finally remembered who he was and he was caught. Who are you? He finally eased his pain a little and looked at Chen Shi, the only living person in the ruins. You don't need to know who I am, you just need to know that I am a good person who saves you. Your arm was broken and needs immediate treatment. I'll send you to Steve Rogers. He can take care of you. Chen Shi was talking nonsense here in a serious manner, making Bucky, who had no memory of it before, bewildered. Yes, that's right, Bucky believed it. Psychic suggestion is also very useful. It is best used to deceive people who do not know what is going on. When Chen Shi said that he knew Steve, Bucky believed him instantly. He knew Steve, so he was safe. Without saying a word, Bucky immediately nodded in agreement. Thank you, you are such a good person. Alas, I don't know how long I have been in coma, and I have no memory at all. You're too polite, let's go. Chen Shi waved his hand and said very generously. Yeah, I may repay you if I have a chance in the future. Bucky said in a low voice in pain. That's great, what a great person. He staggered to his feet, tore off his clothes, gritted his teeth in pain and simply stopped the bleeding before walking out. Seeing Chen Shi motionless, Bucky couldn't help turning around and asked, why don't you leave? This is a Hydra base, and there are dangers everywhere. Chen Shi shook his head. I have a better way. What? As soon as Bucky asked why, he felt dazzled in front of his eyes. With a flash of dazzling blue light, he came to the edge of a small wilderness. Bucky almost peed with fear. If I didn't bring this, could it be that I had been unconscious for too long? The technology here is so advanced. He looked at Chen Shi in shock with wide eyes, tongue-tied, and stammered, what is going on? High technology. Chen Shi nodded, more or less, just treat it as high-tech, Steve is inside. Aren't you going in? Bucky asked doubtfully. No, I won't go in. Okay. Can you tell me your name? Bucky shrugged, wondering, are all such good people in this era? Okay, please call me Lei Hong. After Chen Shi finished speaking, he disappeared without a trace. Lei Bang, I remember it. Bucky looked at the air in front of him and murmured softly. He turned around and looked at the villa in front of him. It was a bit modern, but it wasn't much higher than his time. It probably didn't have a similar style for many years. This felt a bit ridiculous. He thought of the high technology Chen Shi mentioned just now, and suddenly felt so stupid. He actually believed his lies. This was obviously a lie to him, and he was so stupid that he believed it. Forget it, who doesn't have a secret of his own? If he doesn't tell it, of course he has his own reasons. Bucky took a deep breath to relax his painful expression and look a little more normal. Ding dong, ding dong. He stepped forward and pressed the doorbell, and his breathing began to become rapid. He didn't know how many years had passed. I thought that being captured would mean death, but who would have thought that I would be able to see my brother again after so many years? He was nervous, excited, and even more impatient. He took big breaths and tried to calm himself down. At this time, the door opened and Sharon Carter walked out of the house. She looked at the guy in front of her who was covered in blood and was dressed in ragged clothes. She was suddenly caught off guard. Who is this? Terrorist attack, gang revenge. Are you running for your life now? Are you here in a panic? Sharon Carter thought for a while. A woman's nature made her fantasize about all kinds of things, and it might even be true. She looked at Bucky in confusion and asked, what's going on with you? Are you being hunted? Chase. Bucky was stunned for a moment, then suddenly lowered his head and realized that he really looked like he was being hunted, didn't he? These clothes, this hairstyle, and this blood stain, it makes you look like you are being hunted. But now is not the time to think foolishly. Looking at the girl in front of him, Bucky is even more confused. Did he send it to the wrong place? No. Excuse me, is this the home of Steve Rogers? I'm looking for him. No matter what, ask first before talking. Steve Rogers. That's right. Sorry, this is my Aunt Peggy Carter's house, but Steve is here too. When Sharon Carter heard this, she looked carefully and saw that the person in front of her looked really familiar. Peggy Carter. Ha ha ha, they are really together. It's true that lovers finally get married. When Bucky heard this, he was overjoyed and his wounds no longer hurt. They were particularly optimistic about Steve and Peggy back then, so it's really not surprising that they are getting together now. Are you Bucky Barnes from the Howling Commandos? Captain America's Steve's closest comrade? Sharon Carter looked at him in shock, her eyes full of disbelief. How many years has it been? Didn't he die long ago? Oh my God, another one injected with super soldier serum. Sharon Carter looked at the seriously injured Bucky and quickly invited him into the house. Steve, Aunt, come on. Something big has happened. Something big has happened. Sharon Carter walked and shouted, calling out to Steve and Peggy. At this time, Peggy was still able to move freely. Due to the vigilance of a super agent, she knew that something big was really going on. So she and Steve couldn't catch up on reminiscing, and hurriedly walked out on crutches. At this moment, their eyes were facing each other, and everyone was stupidly motionless, just looking at each other quietly. We meet again after a long separation. Things have changed and people have changed. I didn't expect that they would meet again. Isn't this God's mercy? Steve, Peggy, Bucky looked at them with his mouth moving, eyes filled with tears, and his body shaking violently. Bucky. Equally excited were Steve and Peggy. They also had tears in their eyes, covering their mouths with their hands, looking at Bucky in disbelief. Woohoo, it's so great to see you. I thought I would never get another chance in this life. My brother, Steve. Bucky rushed to Steve crying, hugged him fiercely and slapped his shoulders, pouring out his excitement. Steve also couldn't hold back his tears, crying with joy and hugging Bucky, unable to control himself. In this situation, what a good gay friend and quilt. Peggy watched the scene where the brothers reunited and was really happy for them. The world has changed, the years have passed by, and there is no old friend or friend around. It is like they have been forgotten by time. It must be God's mercy to meet each other now. The two finally calmed down, still looking at each other excitedly, only to hear Steve say sadly, Bucky, you must be having a hard time. This simple sentence made Bucky cry again. This is his closest brother. Steve felt sad when he saw Bucky's ragged appearance covered in blood, and tears welled up again. It's okay, I'm still alive, right? Bucky couldn't bear Steve's sadness and quickly comforted him. When he stretched out his left hand, he suddenly found that only a tattered cuff was left. Ah, sorry. Bucky was in a daze looking at his bleeding arm, and thought of the pain again. At this time, Steve finally discovered something was wrong. He raised his hand and gently touched Bucky's cuffs, slowly and solemnly. No. Steve's eyes widened with anger and he yelled repeatedly. He didn't believe it. His brother would be hurt to this extent. Who is it? I'm going to kill him. I must kill him. How dare he hurt Bucky like this? How dare he? Steve has never felt such hatred. Killing intent. His eyes suddenly turned blood red, and he suddenly lost his mind. God allowed him to see Bucky. This was a gift and a mercy for him, for his country and people. God was merciful to him. But now someone has destroyed this beautiful gift, this hard-won gift. Why is he not angry? Since the death of his parents, Bucky has been taking care of his life and protecting his safety. Bucky is his best brother, a brother who can give his life for. In Steve's mind, even Peggy Carter can't compare to Bucky, and this relationship is so precious. Seeing Steve crying and yelling, Bucky felt the same. Only he understood how deep and profound the brotherhood between the two was. Bucky held Steve with one hand and shouted forcefully, Steve, wake up. Wake up. This is all in the past, do you understand? Now Hydra has resurrected. They were not destroyed by you back then. I was just rescued from their base. Do you understand? Don't be angry or sad now. They will make you dull and make you make mistakes. Now let's wait for me to recover from my injuries, and then we will destroy them again. Cheer up, Steve. Bucky's words were deafening, like a blow to Steve's head. Hydra is actually still alive and well. Didn't he destroy their base back then? How is this possible? I just did useless work. With a snap, Steve was woken up. He stared at Bucky with wide eyes. Are you telling the truth? Are they still alive? Are you hallucinating? I watched the red skull being swallowed up by the invisible light. I saw it with my own eyes. Steve firmly believed in his own judgment. Their base was destroyed and the red skull was killed by himself. Unexpectedly, Bucky shook his head slightly. That's not the case. The Red Skull is just a snakehead of Hydra. They have many branches. They are so hidden that no one knows where they are or who they are. After being captured, Bucky briefly saw the internal complexity of Hydra, and he was simply an invincible Xiaoqiang. When Steve heard this, he was hit a bit hard, and his whole body felt bad. He only killed one. Then the fact that I have been sought after, cheered, and loved by the people for so many years is all fake. He announced his return before, and walking on the street, he was more popular than anyone else, even international superstars, and their president was not as popular as him. Hee. Steve smiled bitterly. It turned out that this was all fake. It was so ironic. He was not a real hero. Steve's expression instantly became self-deprecating. Maybe he was just a clown in the eyes of Hydra, an arrogant, reckless man, right? Steve, don't do this, you are a hero. Peggy saw this, held his hand, and comforted softly that this was not Steve's responsibility. It was too easy to hide in those days. She couldn't bear Steve being so sad. Destroying Hydra had always been his pride and responsibility, and he had already done a good job. Yeah, what else is there in Hydra? Can't we just destroy it one more time? Have you, Steve, forgotten your responsibilities? Have you forgotten your oath? As Steve's spiritual mentor, Bucky has instilled various ideas into him since he was a child. Naturally, he has two brushes. He knows that this is what Steve does. Sure enough, one word woke up the dreamer. Hydra is still there, then destroy it again. If my American team Steve can succeed once, he can succeed twice. Thank you, brother. You are the person who understands me best. Steve's eyes lit up, and his high fighting spirit appeared again. His passion was ignited again, and he found the meaning of existence again. He has a new goal in life, to destroy Hydra again. Then he can live with Bucky forever. Oh, you survived. Bucky was delighted. This is his brother. He then joked. Hurry up, clean my wound and bandage it to stop the bleeding, otherwise I will die. Oh, yes, Peggy, do you have a first aid kit here? Steve slapped his forehead and suddenly remembered that Bucky was bleeding. It's just a little strange. Why is there not much blood in the broken arm? Could it be that he was also injected with some kind of serum? It should be, otherwise how could he live for so long without changing at all? Peggy nodded quickly. Sharon, go get the first aid kit and help Bucky clean and bandage it. As an agent, she still has various first aid measures. Sharon Carter here acted very quickly and quickly brought the first aid box over to help Bucky clean and disinfect his broken arm and bandage it. Bucky, what's wrong with your arm? Why doesn't the wound feel like new? Steve finally saw his wound clearly and asked doubtfully. Oh, it wasn't new in the first place. They replaced my arm with a robotic arm. It was very powerful and I became their experimental subject. Bucky sighed. When Steve heard this, he became even more furious. It turned out to be like this. His hatred for Hydra has reached its peak, and he is determined to kill no one alive. Don't worry, brother, let's take revenge together. Steve held Bucky's hand hard and said through gritted teeth. I trust you. Bucky also looked at Steve with emotion, beyond words. The two brothers were talking to each other, but Chen-Shi was not idle over there. Red Queen, send the video of Bucky torturing Howard to our classmate Iron Man Tony Stark. Chen-Shi, who had been observing them, sneered, are you reunited as a family? Are you happy? What a pity, the last possible possibility must be completely destroyed, the Avengers' plan. Nick Fury, forget it. What is revenge? All conspiracies should be nipped in the cradle. This is his style. There is only so much power in this universe, and you must control it all in your own hands. How can you do it if it is scattered? His enemy is Kong, who has conquered countless universes. Who knows how many Thors, Tonys, Jean Grey or Scarlet Witch he has in his hands. He didn't dare to take a gamble, he simply couldn't afford it. If Nick Fury is allowed to integrate this group of people, it will be difficult for him to really destroy it, as long as all possibilities are cut off from the source now. Haha, you have to sacrifice when you should, Bucky. His strength is too weak, and it is completely impossible for me to control Captain America. Since your ability is not good enough, you can only be eliminated. Bucky, don't blame me. Kill people to pay for their lives, and pay your debts for money. It's time to pay back what you owe the Howard family. Chen's eyes seemed to have traveled through space and time, and he saw the passion of the gay friends. He shook his head and smiled. Cherish the last time now. Master, I have sent the video to Tony, and it has started to spread on the internet. The Red Queen said softly. Very good. Next, it's time for others to perform. Let's enjoy the show. Chen Shi said strangely, no one can control the current development. He was directly exposing the two parties involved, Bucky and Tony, in front of everyone and roasting them on the fire. This is Hong Guguo's conspiracy. Whether they accept the move or not, they still have to accept it. The hatred for killing my father is irreconcilable. According to Tony's arrogant and domineering personality, it is impossible to let go of this enemy who killed his father. This is not a movie, and Tony has not been brainwashed by Nick Fury and others. His character is now even worse than before. He is very cynical and arrogant. Who is he? Is Iron Man Tony Stark any good? It is so swollen that it will explode. Soon, Tony was the first to receive this video, which restored all the truth. Sir, here is a video sent by Mr. Chen Shi. He wants you to watch it now. Tony was suddenly interrupted by Jarvis while he was working. Well, I don't know what this guy is up to. Tony shrugged and said with a playful smile. The moment Jarvis played the video, Tony frowned and his expression became serious. That car was so familiar. He would never forget until his death that this was the last car his father drove. The car in the video suddenly lost control and crashed directly onto the side of the road. This was consistent with the result given by S.H.I.E.L.D. He didn't understand why Chen Shi sent him this. But the next scene made Tony completely crazy. At the scene of the car accident, Bucky suddenly appeared. Howard climbed out of the car and shouted to Bucky. Help, help my wife. Please, help. However, Bucky got off the motorcycle and grabbed Howard's pale silver hair and punched him hard. Howard, who was beaten, looked up in disbelief at the person who beat him. Sergeant Barnes, he didn't believe it. It was his former friend who was cruel to him. Why on earth was this? It's a pity that Howard never had the chance to ask again. With this question, guilt for his wife, guilt for his son, and infinite attachment to the future, he fell into darkness forever. Bucky punched 1, 2 punches, 3 punches. Each punch was as heavy as 1,000 pounds and hit Howard hard. There is only a perverted and sinister expression on his face, and he is silent. Is the brainwashing really so perverted? This is not as simple as brainwashing, it is simply a different person. How could Howard, who was in the age of Ji Yushi, resist? He was beaten to death by Bucky and tortured to death. Next to him was his mother Maria, who was wailing loudly. She could only watch helplessly as Bucky tortured Howard. Howard, Howard, howled out loudly, and everyone who heard it burst into tears. However, it was of no use at all. Bucky dragged the dead Howard into the car and strangled Maria, Tony's favorite person, to death. The video ends with Bucky's provocative expression, and the video ends abruptly here. The sadness will always be left to Tony. This is not a car accident. This is killing his parents. Bucky, Bucky, Bucky. No, father, mother. Tony yelled wildly and painfully, wailing for his father and mother. Bucky Barnes, I must find you. Even if you are dead, I will dig up your grave and dig up your body, and crush your bones into ashes. If I don't take this revenge, I, Tony, swear that I will not be a human being. I will be a son of man in vain. Bucky, Bucky, I must kill him, kill him. The horrifying roar spread throughout the villa, and he watched the video over and over again with great grief, his murderous intent getting deeper every time. His eyes turned blood red, as if he wanted to choose people to eat. He was now like a crazy beast, completely crazy. A destructive emotion burst out in his heart. Now he just wants to kill and destroy. His parents were tortured and murdered, which completely destroyed Tony's world and plunged him completely into madness. He couldn't think of anything else but to find Bucky. Even if it's a cemetery. Graves must be dug, bones crushed and ashes scattered. Jarvis, contact Chen Shi. Since he sent me this video, he must know something. No matter what the price is, I want to know Bucky's whereabouts, whether dead or alive. Tony said coldly. His voice was low and cold, just like the biting cold wind in the dead of winter, making people shudder. His heart was ice cold, and only the word revenge could awaken the blood. Yes, sir. Jarvis immediately started to contact Chen Shi, and the call was connected instantly. Tony, you should ask me for Bucky's address, right? Or is he dead or alive? Before Tony could speak, Chen Zai's calm voice came out. This was his plan. Although Tony didn't know what Chen Zai's purpose was, he didn't want to know either. He just wants revenge and doesn't care about anything else. Tony doesn't care what he wants to do or what his purpose is. Tony asked in a deep voice, "Tell me, whatever you want, as long as I can give it to you, I'll give it to you." This time, he gave everything and didn't care about anything. Even if he gave everything he had, he would do it. When Chen Shi heard this, he knew that Tony was going to spend a lot of money, but apart from Tony's steel armor, he really didn't care about anything else. Therefore, Chen Shi directly made his request. "I need your drawings for each generation of steel armor in the future, and of course I need samples." "Okay, I promise you." Tony didn't hesitate for half a second and agreed immediately. Chen Shi was not surprised at all by such a reaction. The hatred for killing his father was irreconcilable, and he could afford it no matter how much it cost, let alone the price. Tony was happy, and Chen Shi was naturally happy too. Bucky is recuperating at Peggy Carter's house. He is still alive and well. He has not changed at all after being injected with the Infinity Formula. "I think, Bucky, this is the best news for you, right?" Chen Shi said with a smile. "That's what I want. The more powerful it is, the more fun it will be to kill." "Haha, you were right." Tony sneered in a low voice and hung up the phone directly, with an even bigger smile on his face. Bucky is alive and well, living well, that's what makes it interesting. It would be more interesting to kill a strong man, but it would be boring if Bucky was an old man who couldn't walk. "Jarvis, go all out to create Mark III, I want revenge." Tony didn't immediately go after Bucky alone. He knew Steve was there and would definitely help Bucky. If you want to do it yourself, you must make a complete plan, and you must hit it with one strike, leaving the enemy no chance to breathe. Tony began to transport a large amount of alloys, various auxiliary materials, weapons and ammunition from Stark Industries. Only by manufacturing 10 steel armors at once and giving them to Jarvis to control can he rest assured that there will be no room for failure in revenge. Give him half a day and everything will settle down. Leaving aside the outside world for the time being, the top leaders of various countries are currently in a state of gloom and gloom. Hydra has resurrected, but they are still very much alive. Then they themselves will live a very unsatisfactory life, and those who don't know are fearless. They didn't know before, but now they know. So will Hydra choose to strike first and madly attack their senior leaders because they are afraid of retaliation? Only God knows the answer, but they have to guard against it. They began to deploy various plans against Hydra and started digging 3 feet into the ground. As for their plan against Chen Shi, they really don't know how to target him. They are sure to be on guard. It's like a tiger eating the sky and having no way to eat. They are just above board, but you can't deal with such a guy who is as powerful as a god. Are you angry? The only one who feels at ease is Long Guo, because Chen Shi is one of his own. Other countries are even more envious and jealous. Why don't they have such a big boss behind them? This is the humanoid infinite nuclear bomb. No one can afford to offend it, and no one dares to offend such a being. The only people who are most troubled are the top leaders of the United States. They know that this human-shaped nuclear bomb is on their land. Such an existence is too terrifying for them. If something happens, who can bear it if I don't directly perform an internal explosion on you? The battlefield is within the borders of the United States. Will this still set the economy back 10 or 8 years? They are miserable internally and the ashtrays are full, and the American people outside are even worse. With the help of the famous Queen, this video was instantly pushed to major social platforms and portals, and it made headlines. Everyone looked silent and shed tears. Silence is the most terrifying thing. Silence is just the short calm before the storm. What comes as the most terrifying disaster? Howard was beaten to death, and died extremely sadly. Before he died, he begged the executioner to save his wife. Everyone is angry, they are angry. Burn them. They left messages on major websites demanding severe punishment for the murderer. Some people took to the streets again and went straight to S.H.I.E.L.D. Now S.H.I.E.L.D. is no longer a secret and has been exposed by Chen Shi. Why attack S.H.I.E.L.D. directly? No reason, because the person who tortured and killed the Howards was Bucky Barnes, a member of the Howling Commandos back then. Such a well-known commando team across the United States has made great achievements in the past, and it is even the team of Captain America Steve. Now, Steve is in S.H.I.E.L.D. They want a statement that Bucky Barnes is a disgrace and does not deserve the name. As his captain and brother, Steve has to tell everyone that he is a superhero, but Howard has created countless weapons, and he is also a superhero who protects the United States. At this moment, Nick Fury within S.H.I.E.L.D. naturally also saw the video on the internet. This black-hearted man secretly said, "Oh no. This is going to be a big event. The video is being circulated from who knows where. This is a rhythm that will make people die without stopping." Bucky tortured Howard like this and still made a provocative expression. This was to arouse everyone's public outrage. Tony Stark must be looking for Bucky to kill him, but he knew that Bucky had already appeared. Naturally, he, an old fox, would not send Shakot alone to follow Steve. There were too many people spying on him. His agents had already reported it to him, and it was a big conspiracy. This is the rhythm to dismantle S.H.I.E.L.D., a chain of plans one after another. There is no such coincidence in the world. Over there, Chen-Chi brazenly attacked the Hydra base, uprooted it and disappeared. How did he know about the Hydra base? And who did he get the information from? This is too mysterious. Chen-Chi not only knows his S.H.I.E.L.D. well, but also Hydra. Is he really a god who can see the past and the future? For a moment, Nick Fury could conclude that all this was Chen Zai's conspiracy. No, it was a conspiracy. This guy is a bit too ruthless, killing someone with a borrowed knife without even a trace of trace. He is a master of tricks. First dig out Steve and sell it to yourself and get a huge benefit, then dig out Bucky and sell it to Tony. The video spread on the internet and caused an uproar. The impact on public opinion was really great. With Tony's character, he would naturally take revenge at all costs. The revenge for killing my father is irreconcilable. No matter what, this matter has really spread. I can't hold it back. Oh, it's really a series of links. From his appearance, every step he takes is deeply calculated by him. Why on earth does this person want to cause trouble and always target our S.H.I.E.L.D.? Nick Fury looked out the window and couldn't help but sigh deeply. Recently, he has not had a peaceful sleep since Chen-Chi was born. Dong dong dong. Dong dong dong. There was a rapid knock on the door, and Nick Fury was shocked. His face changed wildly. Something bad happened. Whatever you said. He had already guessed that the people outside would not let him go. Director, something serious has happened. The crowd outside has blocked our door. We need an explanation. Coulson pushed the door open and looked nervous, shouting anxiously. Nick Fury's expression darkened, and he said indifferently, "Let's go, what is supposed to come will always come, there is no use in avoiding it." After saying that, he took the lead and walked out, followed closely by Coulson. There is nothing else to see outside the S.H.I.E.L.D. headquarters building. When you look up, there are people everywhere, densely packed with people. There were so many people at a glance, hundreds of agents were pushing and shoving with the crowd, but their power was too weak in the face of the general trend. Just like a small boat in the turbulent waves, it may be overturned by the waves of the people at any time. When Nick Fury arrived, this was all he heard. "Captain Steve, please stand up. Give us an explanation as to why such a scumbag executioner is your brother. Kill him. Kill him. Avenge Howard. Bucky, the filthy executioner, deserves to be hanged. Bucky is not a hero. He doesn't deserve a name. He is a disgrace to the Howling Commandos. A disgrace to America. Kill him. Punish the murderer severely. Kill him. Punish the murderer severely. Brothers and sisters, charge. They are protecting each other. Go for it." Under the fierce public sentiment, the power of the people is infinite, and no one can stop this trend. The agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. immediately stepped aside, and many even tore off their uniforms to join the crusade. It doesn't matter if they don't work for S.H.I.E.L.D. like this. It would be their shame to join S.H.I.E.L.D. like this. Their founder was beaten to death, but they want to defend the murderer and executioner. This is a shame for everyone. They don't want to avenge him, but they want to defend the murderer. They are not the sons of man. There is no airtight wall in the world. Bucky's appearance has long been spread within S.H.I.E.L.D. The surging crowd rushed directly to the shield building, and they were about to rush to the building. Is this okay? Nick Fury and others broke out in cold sweat. They never expected that this matter would become such a big deal. They have long been accustomed to such incidents, and they often do it at every turn. This is their American characteristic. Did they play hard this time? Nick Fury was so frightened that he quickly asked his men to fire warning shots. Bang bang bang, bang bang bang. Dozens of pistols fired simultaneously, causing the surging crowd to pause. However, guns have little deterrent effect on the American people. They have long been accustomed to it. How can there be no gunfights? Seeing that the crowd was about to rush again, Nick Fury quickly picked up the loudspeaker and directly linked to all nearby devices to broadcast. Everyone, please calm down, impulsiveness can't solve any problems. Let me just say a few words here. I don't know what the video on the internet is about. But don't you believe my Captain America Steve? He just woke up from the ice and knows nothing about these decades. People will always change. Neither we nor the captain know anything about Bucky's treason and surrender to the enemy. There was no way. Nick Fury sold Bucky directly. Who allowed such a thing to happen to him? Heaven and earth are outraged, and God can't protect him, so he can only say sorry. For Nick Fury, there is no one in this world who cannot be abandoned, as long as he has no value. Obviously Bucky is such a small existence, a pawn who can be abandoned by him at any time. In order to protect Steve, and more importantly, to protect his own status and S.H.I.E.L.D.'s transcendent status, there is nothing he can't do. Sure enough, as soon as these words came out, the turbulent crowd suddenly became quiet. Yes, Captain America Steve just woke up from the ice. He has been unable to do anything in the past half-century. None of this has anything to do with him. People will change, there is nothing that cannot be betrayed, as long as you are given enough chips. But they can't be dismissed by Nick Fury's incoherent way of kicking the ball. They are not fools, they are so easy to fool. This matter has a lot to do with S.H.I.E.L.D. Someone immediately shouted, "We can believe you, but you have to take practical actions. Isn't it your S.H.I.E.L.D.'s job to catch such super criminals? What's more, Bucky is a former member of the Howling Commandos, and Captain Steve must clean up the door." Sure enough, as soon as these words came out, everyone responded loudly. Yes, you must arrest him. It is your responsibility to severely punish the murderer. This must be done by Captain Steve. He is Bucky's former brother and commander. He must clean up the house. After hearing so many echoes, Nick Fury secretly cursed. These guys are going to drive Steve to a dead end. How could he not be cautious about such a thing? Nick Fury immediately fell into deep thought. This matter is of great concern. After just a moment of silence, the crowd went crazy again. Fake. It's true. Brothers, we must smash S.H.I.E.L.D. today. Come on. These bureaucracies. Fark. Kill this guy. Boom, boom, boom. The ground seemed to be shaking, and the crowds were surging. Nick Fury was startled and had to ask his men to fire again. He picked up the trumpet and shouted, "Gentlemen and ladies, listen to me, it is S.H.I.E.L.D.'s responsibility to catch such super criminals. Everyone, please rest assured, we will definitely capture Bucky and bring him to justice." He originally wanted to sneak in secretly, but who knew that these people were determined? No, don't fool us and play word games. Captain Steve must clear the door. That's right, you fool is indeed a black man and a black heart. Stop, brother, your thoughts are very dangerous. You have serious racial discrimination. When Nick Fury heard this, he cursed secretly again for messing with Falk. Racists. Guys, he has been looked down upon since he was a child, and he knows that he is no better now. He is angry but cannot change it. This is culture, and it cannot be changed easily. Nick Fury is feeling aggrieved now and cannot defend himself at all. Don't worry, everyone, Captain Steve will personally take action and arrest Bucky, the traitor and executioner. When he said this, Nick Fury seemed to have exhausted all his strength. He had no choice but to compromise. Alas, Steve, I really tried my best, I'm sorry for you. Nick Fury's eyes were full of helplessness. This is the people's will and this is the general trend. No one can maintain their position under such a torrent. The crowd was quiet after hearing this, and they got the result they wanted. They believe in the power of S.H.I.E.L.D. and they will definitely be able to find that Bucky. They don't believe that Bucky is dead. The guy was so young more than 10 years ago and there is no way he is dead now. Immediately, someone took the lead and shouted to disperse, and then the crowd began to slowly leave the S.H.I.E.L.D. area. The demonstration finally passed without incident. But everyone understands that the real beginning is below. This is the short calm before the storm. Howard's son, Tony Stark, is sure to avenge his father, and it's going to be thunderbolt action. At this moment, S.H.I.E.L.D. is extremely unstable. Of course, Hydra's undercover agents are unfazed and even gloating about their misfortune. Let's be chaotic, the more chaotic the better. Leaving aside the Hydra soldiers, the other members are different. Especially the senior leaders such as Coulson, Hill, and Patton. After get off work, they had a party in the bar, drank a little too much, and fell into a daze. Coulson immediately laughed at himself and said, "Haha, I didn't expect that this is our S.H.I.E.L.D., condoning and protecting the pervert who killed our founder, ha ha ha." When the others heard this, they suddenly looked sad. Their founder was assassinated, and they didn't even mention a word about revenge. It was all for profit. So when were they assassinated? Haha, I guess there are no waves, right? Who will remember them? If you die, just die and be buried directly. At this time, Barton drank all the beer in the cup and said in a deep voice, "Everyone, I am ready to retire." Coulson and others were stunned. This was a bit too sudden, but there were no signs at all. Hill frowned and asked, "Are you because of what happened today?" Barton shook his head. "No, I have already thought about it. This business is too tiring. I just want to live a stable life." "Well, in that case, I wish you all the best, cheers." Coulson smiled and raised a glass to congratulate him on his bright future. Cheers. Everyone raised their glasses with smiles on their faces, but what they were thinking about was how to consider their next retreat. On the other side, it's been a whole day. Tony has been working like crazy all day and all night. He can't sleep, and he doesn't dare to sleep. He doesn't dare to lose to his parents who have not yet avenged their revenge. I hope everyone will support it and subscribe more.